I love all of this material we have for the cold open. Like, this is exciting.
Nick's gonna have a goddamn heyday.
Well, am I editing this one too?
Oh, I don't know. No one else bothers with Easter eggs.
That's true. I'm the only one who does anything fun for the listeners.
Mythos Busters, investigating the mystery, monsters, and madness of Arkham Horror, the card game.
Hello and welcome to episode 27 of Mythos Busters, where today we've got a random ad. It's a party up in here. However, we do still have the normal crew. We've got Nick.
Hey guys.
And we've got Ian.
Hello.
And we've got Scott.
I am so cold.
What's rocking in Edmonton right now?
Snow.
Snow.
And negative temperatures. It's Winter came with
negative Celsius is. I know you guys get cold up there, but I can never actually tell how cold it is because centigrade.
Oh geez. It's about 15 degrees below freezing in Fahrenheit. So whatever that is.
Wow, you guys are hitting it hard. Is that polar vortex back? Return of the Polar Vortex. You guys remember that from a few years ago?
I don't know.
I remember it. minus 48.
Is this a Canada thing?
No, I feel like the weather stations in like 2014 talked about nothing else but the Polar Vortex.
Okay. I don't listen to Fox News.
Fake
I think in Fahrenheit, we hit minus 54 Fahrenheit.
Jesus!
Yeah, for a couple days.
That's not weather. That's an emergency condition.
Yeah, we haven't had that in Minnesota since
I don't know when.
97.
Sure, I wasn't paying attention to temperatures in 97.
I would assume we're not including wind chill, because why would we actually talk about how the weather feels?
Yeah.
Cool.
Hey, you know what's really good on an Arkham podcast? Weather.
It's true. So
chilling cold and counter set.
I'm telling you, our Almanac podcast.
All right, so if you couldn't tell, we got a little bit of a special thing going today. Nick and I are actually recording in the same room, as sometimes... Have we actually ever done that?
Never, not out of an interview. Oh my god, not outside of an interview.
Oh, okay. Well, we kind of got that going on. Because joining us tonight is our good friend and, of course, the aforementioned random ad, Kip. Hi, Kip.
Hey.
How are you?
I am terrified that I'm going to miss out on every inside joke.
That's probably going to be a
So
thing.
far, we've only had 20, so I think you're okay.
That's why every time when we played Arkham last night, when one of us would play an emergency cache, we made sure to go, Kip, quiche.
That's why we were doing that. I thought we were just stroking my ego.
So we've got our normal segments to lead off the show tonight, though I imagine they're going to be a little bare bones compared to normal. Mm-hmm. And then we'll be moving into our discussion topic / game tonight, where we're going to have Kip complete a deck based on our pitches for cards to complete said deck. Should be fun. And, of course, a listener in our chat is going to win some promos from Arkham Knights based on how that game goes. So, woohoo! And then we'll end it up with what I'm sure is going to be a monstrous tentacle time because that's how that works. All right, Nick, what do we got community-wise? I feel very NPR today, by the way. I'm sitting here in a group with headphones, sipping my coffee.
I'm assuming you're not looking at the show notes right now, Tim?
I'm not.
Okay.
Let's do that.
I actually removed community highlights for this episode.
Oh, well,
since we were so light on everything, I figured I'll just double down on that, and then we'll have a nice plump community highlights for next episode.
Lovely.
Is there something from our show intro that you want to do? Or do you want to talk about later? I don't know if you want to do an hour later.
Yeah, no. I think it's a good idea to do it now. So let's announce that in addition to the fun game we're running tonight, we have a couple other sets of these Arkham Knights promos to give away. So we're going to be doing that via a meme contest. Because this has been a long time coming. So basically, we're going to run this probably for a month or two after this recording goes up. You'll want to go to any number of the meme generator websites. If you just Google, meme creator, you'll be given like 3 or 4 different options. So we're talking about, of course, these funny internet pictures, as the kids call them these days. So the whole idea would be to create a meme that is specific to Arkham LCG. If you want to stroke our egos, you certainly could do one that's specific to Mythos Busters, but definitely not required. So you can either send... Actually, let's have any memes that you create, send them to our Gmail at mythosbusterspod@gmail.com. And basically when the contest is over, we'll post all of the memes to our Facebook. We'll announce that, of course, as well. Go out, like the ones that you enjoy, comment, all that social media stuff. Whoever gets the most likes and reactions is going to get one set of the prizes, and then I think the hosts are probably just going to pick our collective favorite, and they'll get the other set. So, go make some memes.
For the lulz.
For the lulz.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, I mean, we did this for Cardboard of the Rings, and it went really well. And I feel like, as far as just paying attention to what happens in the community and the Facebook, I feel like the Arkham community is doing this already more so than the Lord of the Rings community was. So, like, if you've already made memes and posted them to Facebook, send them to us. Double down, baby.
Did you guys see the Jenny one that shows Jenny's reaction to Paranoia and then Jenny's reaction to Indebted?
Yes.
That was, like, so good.
That one was very good.
I'll see if I can find that real quick.
All right, so we'll remind everyone in the next couple episodes, because it's probably going to be a while before that closes down, but definitely get them in sooner rather than later, because then it's just done. Mm-hmm. So guys, what have you been playing lately? I don't think we had a chance to kind of catch up on games last time. Ian, you got any fun campaigns going? How are Skids and Daisy doing this time around?
Well, I was actually going to talk about Skids and Daisy, so... They did, like, extremely well in Curtain Call, getting 4 XP, I believe, which is a good amount for that scenario. Mm-hmm. And then I think I talked about this last cast, that the second scenario, Last King, I got a little greedy trying to get, like, even more done, and they ended up both getting knocked out. But, yeah, so they're both having to deal with the trauma to go into the rest of the campaign, which is a bit rough, but... There was one memorable moment I wanted to talk about because it kind of shows kind of some of the new rogue tricks that are available, even for the much maligned Skids. So,
I think he's got more pity than malignation.
Sure. I'm not sure if that's better or worse.
Nick took him through Curtain Call last night. Or have we turned?
It was disastrous.
It was not good.
My first 2 encounter card draws were both frozen in fear, so let that show how the night went.
Yeah. I think the thing with Skids always has been that he's more subject to the whims of the encounter deck than other investigators because of that will. So if he... so anyway, this was Last King. I think part of the problem was I was keeping Skids and Daisy fairly far apart to try to cover ground, which led to some issues. But anyway, at one point... both Skids and Daisy drew enemies. Skids drew a psychopath, Daisy drew a maniac, and Daisy was stuck like 2 locations away with no weapons. So Skids decided to come to the rescue. I used sleight of hand to pull out a 45, which doesn't require an action. He had 4 actions with Leo. So first action, blasts away the psychopath using quick thinking, which gives him another action. So he uses the quick thinking action to move, moves again for another action, uses engage for a third action, and then with the remaining action, he basically blows away the enemy on Daisy. So that was a fun example of using all the rogue tricks to basically like blink across the map and help out the other investigator.
So, would you say, Ian, as probably the person who plays the most green cards here, do you think that rogue just has a higher skill ceiling? And that's why we all kind of go like, oh, level 0 rogue is rough?
Yes and no.
Let Ian answer first. I know Skids hurt you, Nick.
It's not... Okay. I can say what I've always said, and I think the issue is that half of rogue level 0 cards are just underpowered versus the level 0 cards that are available to other classes. Or either that, or they focus on things that aren't supported by the rest of the game, like evading enemies.
Yeah, I feel like Rogue has a higher skill cap in the same way that trying to win a race with a broken leg is a higher skill cap.
You got to give that leg time to heal. You got to earn the experience.
All right, so let's hear from the unbiased perspective, which is...
Dude, I like Rogue. Like, I do. I like level 1+ Rogue.
I would answer that question yes, that I think there are particular cards that I've seen people dump on, like Sleight of Hand and Quick Thinking, cards like that, which are actually can do amazing things, like in my example, but you just have to kind of put the actions together in the right order, especially when you're dealing with like 4 or 5 potential actions. There's a lot of ways you can screw it up if you don't put things together in the order they need to go. And with Quick Thinking, for example, knowing which test to use it against to get that extra action and when. The no part is there. I think one of the things that happened is that they gave us someone like Skids who has access to Guardian, and then in the next pack, Jenny had access to the 5 non-class cards, of course, like all the Dunwich investigators did. So basically you had this like slew of kind of rogue weapons that were going unused for the first couple investigators because they had access to Guardian stuff. And so I mean, Derringer got used here and there, especially the level 2 Switchblade gets used, but at the level 0 level, it's like they gave us these weapons as alternatives to Guardian's weapons, but then they had access to the Guardian stuff anyway. So,
but now we got knuckle dusters, yo.
And knife.
Knife has always been there for us. Knuckle dusters.
Seriously though, isn't Kukri better in Skids because he's more likely to have the extra action to pump into the damage?
Then what, knife or knuckle dusters?
Yes.
Yes, I would rather do Kukri than either of those.
Because Moxie doesn't give a combat boost, right? Like if Skids wanted combat boost, you'd have to take like physical training or combat training.
I honestly don't remember.
Yeah.
I think again it's a thing I can totally see the use for knuckle dusters, like just giving the extra damage boost is something I wanted, but again it's like if you're Skids and you have access to machete, you might as well take that for one more, even though that has its own limitations.
Is Knuckle Dusters maybe a good Zoe card?
No. Knuckle Dusters is not a good card. I'm just gonna go with that.
I don't know, like damage is good. We like damage.
It's a card waiting for the right investigator.
Yeah, well, the investigator who blanks retaliate is what we're waiting for.
Or a high.
Yeah, a rogue with 5 fight would be fine too. Because I get a lot of use out of the Colt in Mark, and that's kind of a similar...
But the Colt doesn't give the enemy retaliate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But presumably you'd want to play that in an investigator who can take a hit or two, because occasionally you will pull the tentacle.
I will concede that Knuckle Dusters has more potential than I may originally have said, but currently I think it's a bad card.
Yeah, thankfully a couple people in chat are pointing out that evasion, if you evade an enemy, it blanks the retaliation, which rogues are kind of good at evasion, and they have extra actions to spend on it.
Okay, fine. It's an okay card.
Successfully apologized.
I didn't apologize. I just rescinded.
No, I mean Ian's being an apologist for rogues.
Oh yeah. Oh okay, yeah. Then yeah. Mark your bingo boards, guys.
Scott, have you had any notable plays of late?
I did something stupid.
Always a
I
good
thought
start.
to myself, I'm going to push myself out of my comfort zone. And I was like, I wonder how solo Mark would go.
Oh, not well.
Well, solo Mark in which campaign?
I did Dunwich because
Okay.
it's a campaign. You have to pack a lot of healing because you're going to be using Sophie a lot to investigate. I never had problems with enemies, but actually advancing the acts was quite difficult.
Actually progressing the game.
Yeah,
God, because he just has access to so few clue cards, like evidence, flashlight.
Yep.
And there we go.
Yeah. That ends the list.
Yep. It was good. I lost in Where Doom Awaits, as expected.
Wow, you made it that far.
Yeah. It was with a lot of trauma. I had two sanity trauma.
Well, hey, you can use desperate things. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I kind of played it quickly. I wanted to see how it would go, and it went about exactly as expected, which was poorly. So Mark is good as part of a team, but I would not put him as a solo guy.
he's almost so bad at getting clues that he seems like a 3+ player investigator. Like, I don't even know if a 2-player game could facilitate Mark to the best of his abilities.
I did run him with Rex in testing for Iron Man, and with Rex pulling weight the way
Fair.
with Rex being Rex, that worked pretty well.
Yeah.
That was actually a really clean campaign, but
Yeah, I could see him with a seeker that's like just hardcore all clues, and
Right.
he's
Going
just
for it.
and he just kills everything, and you basically just travel as a group of 2. And but yeah, I agree, Nick. Probably a 3 to 4 player is where he shines.
Well, we know he shines in 4.
Oh God, did he ever?
I wonder if we'll ever get like a lockpicks equivalent for Guardian, like an interrogation or something while an enemy's there. You can like beat him up for clues. That would be pretty
Punch
fun.
the clues out of his face.
Yeah.
I would like to see that just for the Carcosa campaign so far, just to get the clues off of the enemies.
Stupid
because
cultists.
that's annoying. But
Yeah.
A Guardian asset called Waterboard.
Oh God.
Too real. So we had I think the only thing I would mention is we played a little bit of Carcosa last night. We played Curtain Call as a group because Kip, you've been pretty quiet so far, so I want to turn a little bit to you here. Sure. You've played the game before with us. We play it probably quarterly since it's come out, so you know the game, but you're not as deep into the nerdery of it as we are.
I'm kiddie pool deep.
So, how did you feel Curtain Call went last night with Skids and
Rex.
Jim and Rex?
We successfully obtained 100 horror. If that's a measure of
Nice.
success.
That's true.
From everything that's been said in the podcast so far, it sounds like Skids is actually a decent character. We just
no.
weren't doing well with him.
Ian thinks Skids is a
Ian
decent
just has the
character.
voice of Sauron, apparently.
Okay.
Accurate.
It felt as though Skids was doing a lot, but not doing a lot.
Right.
It felt like he was spending a lot of time getting extra actions, but in the end, he was just drawing extra cards.
Yep, that's pretty much what I
He
was
was
doing.
he was being very Kermit, just kind of lots of flailing, but not a whole lot of efficacy.
I had to set up an engine to do the same thing that everybody else was doing normally, so it wasn't great.
Rex is pretty powerful. I didn't get the opportunity to fully utilize him, I feel. But he showed me that he can obtain clues fairly quickly, as well as, he can handle a poltergeist too.
Yeah, because I don't think anyone had even played Rex in a game that you had played thus
Never,
far, right?
never.
So that was your first exposure to him.
Yeah, it's too bad that most of the locations you ended up going to had one clue on them.
Yeah.
That was the downside.
One clue or running and saving Skids.
What? When did you save Skids?
Frozen in Fear?
Yeah, okay, you saved me from Frozen in Fear. When I had 2 at once.
Yeah, no doubt. I thought that Frozen in Fear meant Nick was just done for the game, basically. but we got
That
him
was
out.
when I checked out.
And the only positive thing I said, my gym build was okay, but I managed to get the whole point of it is 2 of my splash are searching for no stone unturned, so I can hopefully
Right.
dig a little bit deeper and get the freaking trumpet out earlier because Jim with trumpet versus Jim without trumpet, totally different thing. Bard Jim in 3-player Curtain Call. So many skulls getting revealed. I must have healed 5 or 6 horror with the trumpet.
Oh, yeah.
So much Careless Whispers played.
But anyway, it went horribly. We failed almost entirely on enemy management. We spent so much time trying to dive through evaded enemies
Yeah.
that we just didn't get anywhere.
That emissary just locked down half of the board. Cause
Yeah.
It's how are we going to do that?
we just
Well, I
camped
don't
on the
know.
theater and we're like, you go in. No, you go in. All right. So moving on then, I guess, to the news. Ian, do we have anything of note?
Not that I can think of, unless I totally blanked on something, but...
Well, I checked today, and it's still just the release article, which we tend to not cover.
Well, then, speaking of release, last time we left the listeners with intellectual blue balls, as was mentioned.
We did.
So let's talk about the Arkham Knights promos. Does anyone have those handy, or do I have to run over to my box?
I've got them in front of me, but Ian, if you have them, since it's under your bracket. If not, I can do it.
I do not have them handy, no.
Okay, I will take care of it. So obviously we know that we got the alt art Leo again. So
Yes,
that and
keeping
everybody
in
knows
mind
what-
these are the prizes for the game later.
Right, yeah, we're giving away a set of these. So you'll get a level 0 and a level 1 Alt Art Leo, same ones that were given away at Gen Con. And then we have the 2 cards that were created at Arkham Knights, which are created by the Card Council. So there were 12 fans of Arkham games that got together for each card with one of the designers. And I will have... I will read one, and Kip will read another one, since it looks like Sean is running away for a moment. So, Kip, do you want to read the 13th Vision for us, please?
Sure. The 13th Vision is an asset. It's a weakness. Madness. Revelation. Put the 13th Vision into your play area. It cannot leave play except by the below ability. Investigators at your location fail all ties during skill tests. You got to spend 2 actions to discard it.
Yeah. So... those ties that we all bank on, especially when we're getting things down to a difficulty of 0, like investigating, suddenly 13th Vision just cancels that for everybody at your location. So I haven't played with this one yet.
No,
I'm
I haven't
scared
drawn it
to.
yet.
Yeah, I
It's
haven't
been in
drawn it
my weakness pool since Arkham Knights, but maybe I should just manufacture drawing it for a deck so I can see how it plays.
And it is similar to Haunted because Haunted lowers all your skill values, but 13th Vision affects all investigators at your location. So in a multiplayer game, 13th Vision will be much more detrimental, I think, than
So everyone's running away from you. Get away from me.
yeah. Your eyes start glowing purple and everybody runs away.
You just shortcut them away from you. Get over there.
And then the asset that we got is the Council's Coffer with a subtitle, What's in the Box?
What's in the box?
It is a 3-cost level 2 asset with 1 wild icon, item and relic traits, and its game text reads, it uses 3 locks. Uses 3 locks.
No,
it's uses.
It is uses, yep.
It's uses.
We've
3 locks.
confirmed.
We've solved this. It's uses, not uses. Uses 3 locks. Continuing.
Clear?
Yes, crystal. If there are no locks on the Council's Coffer, each player searches his or her deck or discard pile for any card and immediately plays it at no cost. Exile the Council's Coffer max once per campaign. And then it has the 2 actions to test any skill at difficulty 5. If you succeed, remove 1 lock. Any investigator at your location may activate this ability. I'm uncertain on this one. Like, I haven't heard any amazing stories from it yet, and that's probably what will convince me to really give it the old college try, but it looks, in my opinion, just from looking at it, it looks like the overall cost to getting and activating this card is higher than the potential reward. Thoughts?
I would generally agree. I think it works better in an investigator that already has a printed 5 on some stat, because then they don't have to work quite as hard, but, like, if someone's putting this in Lola, I don't think you're doing it right.
No.
Yeah, I think this is a tough one. It's a tough one to balance, too, because the effect is pretty powerful. Like, search everything and just put it into play for free for every player is, like, it's pretty huge.
Yes.
But I feel like this was... So, if you make it too easy, then it's going to be busted. So I think that this is maybe, like, 1 or 2 steps too far overbalanced. I think maybe if the skill test was lower, and it's also a lot of actions to sink into something.
Yeah.
And it's once per campaign, so like once you do it once, it's done. Like you can never do it again.
In the click economy, it's spending those 6 actions, and that's assuming maximum efficiency.
I will be very happy when the whole click economy joke just dies, because now I'm hearing it way too much from everybody. Scott,
Hey, have you heard about our Lord and Savior Click Economy? Do you have time to discuss him?
Click a kiss.
my big concern with, other than the max months per campaign with Council's Coffers, is just the fact that by the time you get it out and get it taken care of, how late in the game are you, and how set up are you already by then?
Right. Like,
That's my concern.
yeah, by that point, you probably already have the stuff you would want to get out already most of the time.
Yeah, and Ian, I think you're probably right. And, you know, if I were a game designer and, you know, they were doing this cool thing, because it was really cool, though. They designed it and we got the card next day. Like, that's a really cool feature. So that's a huge plus for this whole process. But if I'm a designer in that situation, my instinct would be to go conservative on the design, and then if through playtesting you go like, oh, this is really awful, let's buff it, then
Right.
you can do that, rather than come out of the gate with something really powerful and then disappoint everyone by nerfing it by the time it hits actual release.
And that's
Yeah.
important to note, too, is that these copies of these cards that we have and that we'll be giving away are the beta copies. So these will eventually, we can assume, get released, and they might be a little bit different than the ones we have now.
So was that something that was specifically mentioned, or is that something everyone's just assuming because of the beta tag on it?
I think Matt mentioned
that.
Yeah.
So they'll go
Okay.
through regular playtesting now.
Awesome.
And maybe the coffer will be a little easier to break into by the time it hits the actual game.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were wondering about that. But yeah, I think because the other thing is this is a lot less combo-y of a game than other games. Like this equivalent card in like say Lord of the Rings would be bonkers to just like everyone grab a piece and put it into play immediately, no cost. Whereas here it's like, yeah, that'll do something, but and it's definitely powerful, but I don't know.
So yeah, Arkham Knight's promos, pretty cool. I hope they do that again next year. That was I'm actually kind of sad Casey wasn't here because he was the one person that we knew we were hanging
Domo.
out with. Oh yeah, and Jonathan
Domo was
too.
in the other group.
Yeah. But anyway, it seemed like it was a fun process. He bailed on an epic labyrinth of lunacy to go do it, so it must have been pretty important.
I don't think I don't think Casey was too heartbroken.
No, it didn't seem like it. He couldn't
Yeah.
pack up his bag fast enough to trade her.
Yeah, so you'll get a chance in our game to win a copy of one of these special limited ultra rare promos that people are selling for insane amounts on eBay. So
Yeah.
the other bit of news was just that Echoes, the first pack was released, so our cycle is now underway officially.
Woohoo!
Yay.
Echoes
And
is fun.
Yes.
Spoiler-free review. It's pretty cool.
Mine still hasn't arrived.
Oh man.
I know.
That sucks.
Canada does suck sometimes. But you know what? I'm just gonna go get my feelings checked for free at the hospital.
Too real, bro.
America
Too
sucks.
real. So,
Yeah.
then I think we'll move it on. Scott, do we have any rules PSAs for the week?
Nothing really big. No.
Okay.
Yep.
So,
What a show.
then let's move it straight on into the game.
We're
So,
good
Nick,
at this.
Since this was your brainchild, why don't you take the wheel?
Sure. So I was trying to think of a fun game that we could do involving the hosts and a giveaway, and then Kip, who is not as experienced with Arkham Horror as the rest of us. So while there were a lot of games like card recitation or anything like that, that was something that Kip wouldn't really be able to get in on. And since we had him here, we wanted to take advantage of that. So I decided that we would do a game. I proposed to the group, and then we all decided that we would do a game where Kip has, it's called Finish Him, because I couldn't come up with a better title. Kip has a Rex deck that has 25 cards in it.
This is the first time Kip was hearing the title, and he
It's
just
in
gave
the
me a
show
side eye.
notes. Finish him.
Finish him.
Oh,
That's
boy.
probably is the first time Kip has seen this. Anyways, okay, so
Dectality.
so Kip has a 25 card Rex deck. It has Seeker cards and a few neutral cards. It's basic Rex cloovering. It's not trying to do any specific strategy other than just be a Seeker. So there's no strange solution. There's nothing weird like that in there.
Just
And
go
there's-
be Rex, Rex.
Just go be Rex. And
Rex
there's
doing
no-
Rex things.
Exactly. And there's no off-class cards in there. So us as the hosts have each picked 6 different cards of our respective classes that we all kind of identify with. So I have Guardian, Sean is Mystic, Ian is Rogue, and Scott has Survivor. And we're going to pick a card from our stack and pitch it to Kip. And then we're each going to take a turn doing that. And then Kip can consult with the chat to get the chat's opinions. He can do that per card pitch, basically. And then he'll pick one to add it to his deck. And for each card he picks, the owner or the person who pitched the card gets a point. And then whoever has, probably should have said this. We will be representing listeners who are live listeners on the show. So for each card that I get picked, I get a point, and then that's a point towards my listener. And then at the end, the listener with the most points gets our promo. Did that make sense? It felt a little convoluted. I don't know if I...
I'm with you, but I knew
Yay.
what was happening beforehand. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Chat, does that sound good to you guys? If there's anybody in chat who is not interested in getting a set of promos, whether you already have them or whatever, let me know, and I'll remove you from our random number generator. But otherwise, it's definitely a bit convoluted. Yeah, all right. Well, it'll make sense as we go.
Yeah.
So there are, like I said, I'm Guardian. I don't know what order we should do. Should there be an order on who pitches first?
Should probably
We
switch
can,
it each round.
rotate.
Yeah.
Okay. So that means that Sean will go first.
Oh yeah. Oh, see, now that the real strategy of this game is, do I lead with my money
Yep.
cards? Or do I offer up a chump card first?
And the reason why we have 6 is in case, based on the picks that Kip has already made, if we want to make a small adjustment, we can. So Sean will be representing... Generate a number. Come on. Sean will be representing Ace of Basey.
All right, Ace of Basey, we're gonna do this.
Scott will be representing Doppelbach.
I like that name.
Ian will be representing BD Fleury.
All right, let's do this.
And I will be representing Starking 11177, which Starking...
That's actually appropriate.
Yeah, you weren't able to make it to Arkham Knight, so this might be your chance. So remember who you are representing, because I won't.
Fair enough.
Okay. Guardians work together, that's right, we do. Alright, so Sean, do you want to pitch your first card? And Kip,
sure.
feel free to ask questions.
Yes.
Like, feel free to engage the person who's pitching. Like, you're not just a receptacle here. You are an active participant. So. I don't know where these words are coming from. Sean, finish.
Finish him.
All right, Kip. So I decided that I'm going to lead with a money card. So
Okay,
this is one
okay.
you should pay special attention to.
Okay.
So you know in this game, there are things called treacheries, right?
Yes.
And these treacheries are generally pretty bad. So in order to combat said treacheries, I posit that one of your includes should be Ward of Protection. So there's a 1-cost Mystic Event, Wild Pip, fast, play when you draw a non-weakness treachery card, cancel the card's Revelation effect, and then take a horror. So this is a great include in a Rex deck. A, because he's got a hell of a lot of sanity, so that 1 horror is not that huge a cost.
Yep.
This will cancel a treachery that you just don't want to see. If it's the one, say you're drawing a lot of cards and there's a treachery in the Dunwich campaign. I can't remember if you saw this last time.
Okay.
That says when you draw out of your deck, you take 10 damage.
Oof.
Canceling that guy's a nice thing to do in a Rex deck because Rex likes to draw cards.
He does.
In Miskatonic Museum, there's treachery that goes and fetches an enemy and puts it into play engaged with you. Rex don't like that.
I
Rex don't
experienced
like
that
that at
last
all.
night. I don't like enemies are terrible.
No, you just don't want that to happen. So, Ward of Protection is how you stop that from happening.
Point of note, Ward of Protection actually won't prevent enemies, just treacheries.
But often enemies are buffed by treacheries.
Okay.
Like, for instance, last night that one enemy that had a clue on it, then got the King's Command or whatever, that
Okay.
got buffed by the clues.
Okay.
So things like that. So yeah, it's not going to stop an enemy directly, but it will mitigate the risk of getting worse effects while you're already engaged with an enemy. Or stop, for instance, something that goes and finds an enemy and puts it into play. And there are a fair few of those effects.
I gotcha.
So I would recommend that you include Ward of Protection.
All right. Ian, do you want to go next?
First, any questions?
Oh, yeah,
on,
do you have anything?
on Ward?
No, I mean it's pretty straightforward. I like the fact that it's fast as well. Maybe it's just my play type. Just the fact that I don't have to waste an action on something, but it still obviously has a pretty big bonus and a positive effect on my deck, obviously.
Accurate.
I like Sean, so that adds to it. But I definitely like it. I really do. I think that definitely benefits me. And for its low cost and action, it's actionless, so there's really no downside to it.
Yeah, it doesn't ask a whole lot of you.
All right, Ian, what's your first pick?
Okay, Kip, allow me to tempt you with a card called Quick Thinking, which I mentioned earlier. This is a skill card that you commit to a test with a wild icon, so you can commit it to any test in the game, giving you an extra point for your skill. And if you're successful by 2 or more, then after it resolves, you can immediately take another action So it turns out actions are good in this game because you only get 3. So generally, the more actions you take, the better you do. And the thing about Rex is he already has an ability that if you succeed by 2 or more, you get an extra clue. So basically, you can commit quick thinking to your investigate test, get that 2 or more to trigger, so you get an extra clue, and then quick thinking lets you take another action so you can do it all over again. So if things go your way, which they probably will because Rex is a strong investigator, you can gobble up like 4 clues in what is basically only 1 action.
I really feel like we're throwing out the big hitters right away. Like
Everyone's coming in swinging.
Quick thinking seems extremely beneficial, actually, especially when I am that investigator. That I'm being relied on by the group to get the clues to continue to investigate. And I mean, succeeding by 2 or more isn't too bad. I think its base investigate is 4. I mean, last night was a pretty good example of getting a magnifying glass or a couple of those, and then getting Doc out with you as well. It kind of succeeding by 2 or more is really it's not impossible, definitely.
No. All right. Any questions for Ian regarding quick thinking?
I don't think so. Like I said, the ones that have come out so far between water protection and quick thinking, they're straightforward and to the point.
They make sense.
They're
awesome. All right, Scott, what's your first pick?
I'm gonna go with Fire Axe. So Kip,
Scott knows me.
Kip, obviously playing Rex, you may have had some times when you're getting all these clues and some idiot enemy decides to show up and ruin the party. You're going to need a way to get them off you. And Fire Axe is awesome. It takes 1 hand slot. It's cheap. It's 1 cost. But usually with Rex, especially if you have Dr. Milan, you're going to have a ton of money. And Fire Axe allows you to pump your attack by up to 6. Which is an insane amount. You can pretty much hit any enemy. Again, only taking 1 hand slot still leaves another hand for a magnifying glass. Yeah. You need a defensive mechanism in your Rex deck.
It's a good point. And my playstyle definitely revolves around not being afraid to initiate or even take the confrontation, no matter the character I am playing.
Served us so well last night.
I also noticed that I was obtaining multiple resources, and I wasn't like low on them at any point. So I feel like I would have those to spend as well. The only concern is I do, just a quick check, I know that the Rex deck already has several, I want to say, 4 or 5 cards that already can use a hand slot. And I know it can double up on Magnifying Glass versus using a Fire Axe in 1 hand as well. And just continue to be the investigator for clues.
But it is a bummer moment when you draw into the Fire Axe and you've already got a magnifying glass and a full flashlight down, and you're like,
Exactly. It's hard. I mean, if I have it right away, awesome. But if I draw into it later on, I feel like I'm already going to have both hand slots taken.
All right. Any questions for Scott regarding Fire Axe before I do my first pick?
No.
All right. Okay. So a lot of enemy talk right away. So I'm representing Guardian, which is the leading class for dealing with enemies, far and away, heads and shoulders above every single other class in the game right now, other than maybe neutral. And
Lola's a monster killer, apparently.
And what better way? Like, you can't avoid enemies. You're gonna draw enemies. You're gonna have to deal with them. You can try and evade them, but he's only got 3 agility, and it's harder for Seekers to get that evade bonus than other classes. So when you have an enemy that you don't want it to slow down your turn, and you want to continue doing investigating or continue doing whatever you need to do, why not dodge that enemy? That will allow you to continue with whatever you plan to do and ignore their free attack that they're going to get on you. He'll still be engaged with you, and I'll have cards coming up later that'll actually help you deal with that. Ooh. But this is the one that says, God, I need to get those last 2 clues off this location, but I have an enemy engaged with me. I need to do it this turn because we have to advance the act. I'll do it, he'll attack me, but I'll dodge out of the way. And not only that, but dodge also, thank you, Scott, for pulling up dodge. Dodge also allows you to use it on other investigators at your location. So if an enemy is attacking anyone else and you're okay, you can dodge for them too. And that's what I have to say about dodge.
You can get out of the way of all the naked mole rats.
Yeah.
No, straight to the point. It's fast, obviously. It's not wasting an action of mine. I do like the fact that I can use it on my anybody else in the group, I suppose, as well. Anybody in my location. That's a benefit. I don't. It's a great card.
Yes.
But I hate evading.
That's not evading.
But I hate the fact that like dodging or evading combat.
This is better than evading.
It may be better, but my play style, what I want to do, what I want Rex to be able to do, is not be like, oh, I need to get away from him.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
mean
feel like-
that's fair to say about dodge. It only blocks the attack. It won't break the engagement if the enemy happens to be engaged with you. But it does put a stop on the one attack.
Sure.
I think we're learning valuable information about Kip here. So.
I totally changed one of my cards.
Change.
But I do think one of the biggest benefits though is that it's the fact that I can use it on myself or anybody else as well. I think that's great. It doesn't take an action, and like you said, obviously I am a clue getter, and I've got to keep that at the top of my priorities as Rex.
All right. Chat. Any opinions on those 4 cards? Dodge.
I love how everyone we're representing is
Shucking
and jiving a little bit to argue for their card. It's wonderful.
Any other listeners here that want to throw in their 2 cents regarding Ward of Protection, Fire Axe, Dodge, or Quick Thinking?
Yeah, now's your time, guys.
Yep.
Sell me.
So you know how all of these other cards just kind of mitigate a problem? Turns out Ward of Protection just stops the problem.
But only half of the problem. Only treacheries.
Yeah, it's treacheries.
That's true.
So we've got Dodge is also super helpful when there's an enemy that attacks everyone. I don't think it blocks the attack on everyone. You still have to just pick and... No, it does. It cancels the attack. So if you have an enemy that hits all characters, that'll cancel it. So that's good to know.
Okay.
We've got Fire
I
Axe.
suppose.
Weapons are the cornerstone of any deck, and Fire Axe is a strong contender for a Rex weapon. Only uses the 1 hand slot, so that's nice.
Nick, just to clarify, with dodge, it's separate attacks. Like the enemy attacks.
Well, for this instance, for this specific case, we're gonna say that it's. No, you're right.
No
It's
rule
just
bending.
one.
Kip doesn't know better.
To clarify, we're just building just a generic Rex deck that you can use for solo or multiplayer. So this is straight up just Rex deck, like not specific player count.
That's a good point, though. But I mean, there is a selling.
Oh, yeah,
Because there's different strategies
Absolutely.
you'd want to do for sure. So yeah, all right, Kip, do you have a decision?
Sure. And that, like you did bring up a good point. If it's a solo campaign or obviously have multiple people in the group. If it was solo, I'd be leaning towards like Fire Axe because you're right. I need to deal out damage. But if I'm looking for a card that's universal that I can utilize and I think would benefit me as well as the group as a whole, I think I got to give it to Quick Thinking.
No!
I think
What?
I thought he was going to say Dodge! I just... Ian's cackling. All right, no, go ahead. Yeah, talk about it.
Okay.
Why Quick Thinking?
I just feel like I think the biggest selling point though was just like the clue getting. Like in the end, what I felt through any and all adventures that we've run into, and obviously I'm not as experienced as everybody else in the game, but clues are the cornerstone to the adventure or the campaign and as a whole. And very frequently, we don't have any, or we're not getting them. And I feel like that needs to be the top of my priority list. Sure. Obviously, a few of the other cards definitely benefited that. Obviously, Dodge was helpful in the sense that I could continue to get the clues while maintaining or keeping the enemy at bay.
Right.
But with Quick Thinking, it's just the extra action.
Yeah, that's big. All right, well, congratulations, Ian and BD Flory. That's 1 point on the board for you guys. And since you took the point, Ian, do you want to start us off for round 2?
Sure. So allow me to entice you with a card called Burglary. This is an asset that you put into play for only 1 cost, and it allows you to take a special investigate action, so it counts as investigating like you normally would, but instead of getting clues if you succeed, you get 3 resources. The thing with Rex, though, is if you look at his ability, when he succeeds by 2 or more while investigating, he gets a clue. So what this means is you can do burglary, to get resources, but if you're successful by 2 or more, Rex's ability will trigger and you'll still get a clue. So with most investigators, if they use Berkeley, they have to choose. They have to use this action and they'll get resources instead of clues. But Rex can actually have his cake and eat it too. He can get 3 resources and a clue at the same time. And resources are kind of important in this game, like most games. And it's basically like the equivalent of the famous emergency quiche, emergency cash, which gives you 3 resources. This is basically just that on demand every single time. You can do that, get a clue, do that, get a clue, and have as much clues as you need.
Yeah, I don't think I have any questions about it. I like to burgle.
This
is
the card you saw Nick flail around with.
Exactly.
He's like, oh no, it's a 5 shroud. Damn it.
and I can absolutely see where Skids would have issues with it, but Rex would utilize it to its fullest potential.
Yep.
And the fact that obviously it's just exhausting the card. It's not a one-time use. That's a big deal. Right. And like you said, obviously continuing to get resources. I didn't run into any issues. Obviously, I only played Rex one time with resources, but I can see where I'm like, oh, I need to make a choice between clues or resources. And I already used up my emergency quiches, sorry. And burglary would...
We have the cattle prod every time he gets it.
And burglary would seemingly resolve that issue completely.
All right. Scott, what is your pick number 2?
Well, seeing as it's cold outside, Kip, Rex looks like a slight man, and there's going to be enemies around, and his health pool isn't exactly the biggest. I'm going to pitch to you Leather Coat. The best part about Leather Coat, it's free. 0 cost asset. It's on your body slot, which is pretty much not really competing with anything else in Rex for the most part. It gives you +2 health, so you can take those hits from the enemies if you have to. If you're playing with, let's say, Sean's playing Mark, and he's like, hey, I'll just shoot the guy that's engaged with you. Don't worry, I won't miss.
As he is known to do.
Yeah, and, Leather Coat.
You miss every shot you don't take, Nicholas.
You hit the investigator with every shot you miss.
But, I mean, what can be better than, you start out the game and you just add 2 health to your investigator for only the cost of a card. And you're not really, it's not like you said with Fire Axe, it's not competing for a hand slot. It's just on your body slot. So, Leather Coat.
Yeah. I think it's pretty straightforward, obviously.
Very straightforward.
The extra health is extremely necessary, I feel like. Just because, like you said, I don't know all investigators' health, but I do know that Rex does not have a lot. So I feel like that extra 2, and like you said right off the bat, with being able to mulligan and when you are trying to structure your deck appropriately, getting that extra health off the bat really fends off any engagements that I might run into later on. And other than that, I think it's extremely beneficial to Rex.
Yep.
Awesome.
Super straightforward card, 2 health. That's it.
It's a nice one. Sean?
Oh, me next, huh? All right. So this one I'm going to actually offer you as an alternative to what would probably normally be a staple.
Okay.
Oh.
So, normally you might go with the Dr. Milan Christopher for your ally slot for that boost and that money.
Okay.
You can build Rex pretty lean. And in a lean Rex deck where you don't need that constant inflow of Milan Christopher dollars, I might offer an Alyssa Graham. Now let me tell you a little bit about Alyssa. So she still gives you the intellect boost, so she's going to help Rex's ability trigger more often. And her free triggered ability is to exhaust her. You can look at the top card of the encounter deck or any investigator's deck. And if you don't like that card, you can put a Doom on her to bury it.
Ooh.
No, I know.
Yeah, that Doom's rough, man.
Follow me for a minute here, though. So in a solo context,
okay,
this is a very good card to scry the top of the encounter deck, because if you are worried about an enemy coming up and messing on your plans, every turn you can exhaust Alyssa, look at the top. You don't have to place the Doom if you're fine with the card that's there, but anytime you see that big enemy that's going to come and wreck your day, it's usually worth the cost of a turn. And you'll know we mentioned the Witching Hour last night. So that's the turn where the Doom is going to advance during the Mythos phase regardless of what you do. and this is always a free berry during that turn.
Yep, because when the agenda advances, removes all doom in play, including player cards.
Oh, really? Okay. Okay.
And the other fun thing is she's nice and flexible because you can actually look at the top card of just basically any deck in play. If you've got an investigator that's really expecting their weakness and is fearing it, you could bury it for them. You can be the first one to go. Look at the top of the encounter deck and just, we know that, I don't know, Frozen by Fear is going to be the first one drawn this turn, so let's plan accordingly. Sure. So I know she's a little subtle, and she probably requires a little bit of playing to get right, but I think she's a really good alternative for that ally slot. Or, even better, with your first 3 XP, Charisma is a great upgrade. I know we haven't played a whole lot past level 0 decks when we play with you, because we kind of tend to start a bunch of campaigns and never finish them. But for 3 XP, you can get an extra ally slot from the get-go every game.
Oh,
so
really?
you could actually run both of these cards after the first scenario.
I like Alyssa.
So Alyssa,
I like it. I do like the encounter deck to be able to mitigate what's coming. I think that's it's the fear of the unknown, really. Like you said, in a solo campaign, it's extremely valuable. But at the same time,
the flow of the encounter deck.
Exactly, and I don't feel like it loses its value though when you go into a campaign with multiple people. I feel like it maintains that value, and it's extremely beneficial especially when we're I don't want to say late game because we didn't make it past the first scenario. so
yes, but in most games the late game exists.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Good. But just when the Emissary came out, it's like, okay, now we've seen Skids sitting at one sanity from going crazy, and it's just being able to be like, all right, what's coming? What's this encounter deck going to provide Skids? What can we stop? What can we prevent? Or would we rather have the unknown versus card for sure? So
Right.
absolutely useful.
Okay. You like to help out the team, right?
Most of the time.
Yeah. You like to. Well, okay.
It helps me help them.
What we've learned is that Kip likes to consider how he can affect his teammates. I think that's a universal truth that we can all agree on. So the card that I posited last time was one that can cancel an attack. All right.
Okay.
What if you could take an attack on the nose and not have to worry about it? Not only that, what if you could take an attack on the nose for anybody at your location? Boom! True Grit. It's a little on the expensive side, but you're going to be fine with resources because of Dr. Milan and because of those emergency quiches, and this is worth it. You're bumping your health up from 6 to 9, and that extra 3 can soak for anybody at your location, any amount of damage. So if Sean's taking 2 damage, and he's like, God, I don't like 2, you could be like, well, I can take 1, and you can take 1. Oh, that suddenly is a lot more easier to swallow. True Grit, I think, is a good addition to Rex for when you're looking to be that team player. Because not only does it buff his health, but it also helps with anyone else. And honestly, I run True Grit in solo games because of that health buff is so beneficial.
I like to think that Rex has grit, but looking at this card, he doesn't. Like you said, helping the teammates out is obviously a big deal. The fact that I can soak up damage to somebody at my location. I do, and obviously I might be playing Rex wrong, but so far what I've seen is that Rex kind of goes and ventures towards clues. And I feel like maybe it's just me, but I feel like not always am I on the same location as somebody else. But then you brought up the good point of you're defending yourself too. So it's more expensive, but at the same time it's defending myself, anybody at my location, and like you said, you can assign damage. It can be useful more than on one action or one try.
Yes.
So
definitely,
extremely valuable. Like I said, in solo, obviously, and if we're playing a campaign with multiple people.
Right. I don't know. I feel like if you're spending time as Rex soaking damage, you're doing it wrong.
Again, you can't control when those enemies will come out, and if you can, it's always limited.
Why would you pay 3 for 3 health when you can pay 0 for 2 health?
That 2 is only for you. That 2 is only for you, man. The 3 is for everybody. 3 is free, 2 is for you.
Yeah.
That's what we say here at Mythos Busters offices.
Why were you even messing around with damage when you can have resources? Make it rain.
Okay, guys. I didn't interject into all of your shit.
Yeah, I know, but now it's the debate.
I like this. I like that once they're all on the table, we get the open debate option, too, between you guys. No, you all bring up good points.
You're going to be taking damage.
I agree.
Yeah.
That in a... All right.
Chat, anything to add?
Yeah, let's
BD
get some
Flory,
info.
I'm not going to be pitching Dynamite, spoiler alert, because I don't run Dynamite in any deck, honestly, as much as I would love to. So far, the points we've got is that your health threshold is really low. You're at 6, so that True Grit adds 33% to your health, which is a huge bonus. What else do we have? If you Leather Coat is a good card according to BD Flory. Of course, he would say that, but oh no, wait, yeah, BD's with Ian. Okay.
Yeah,
but anyway,
he's
says,
defending my card, so
yeah,
he's not even on my team.
He says you don't have the spare health to be catching hits for other investigators anyway, so that's a good point. There's already one rogue card. Let's keep it elegant and choose a matching card. Burglary. Oh well, all right. So
She's literally looking into a crystal ball, kid.
yeah, nobody's bumping
has the
Alyssa.
sorcerer trait.
Burglary
Nobody's
gives you
saying,
money
"Go,
for
Alyssa."
doing what you're already doing.
Yeah. Oh well, no, we do have Ace of Base. He says you can control those enemies with Alyssa. Well, you can control one enemy. Just
That's
one.
all you need when
That's
it's
fair.
the enemy that matters.
That's fair.
Then you draw a tentacle while facing rats.
All right.
Okay, Kip, what's your decision?
Final answer.
Okay, so I think looking at all these, I do like that we're starting to present ideas that not only help me but can help the team as well.
Right, like Guardian.
Soaking of damage is a good thing. I think that's it's a necessary evil in games. You got to be able to take the damage.
That's
right.
right.
It's going to happen. Looking at the 2 cards that I've got that allow me to soak damage, one's free. One gives me 2 extra health, which
Unless
is
you can just sidestep the damage before.
oh goodness.
Okay, let him talk.
Leather Coat is an extra 2. I think that's not terrible at all. It's free. It can come out early, come out quick, and it takes up a body slot. And there's nothing else in the Rex deck that can really do that. True Grit.
No slots.
True Grit, while also is beneficial, helps me help the team too.
Yeah,
That's true. I like the fact that I can the damage can be assigned to True Grit. But if we're talking about helping out the team, and if that's my primary goal here, I need to be able to mitigate the encounter deck. Stopping cards from presenting themselves to each player around the table is a huge benefit.
Very wise.
Would you rather be a strong wall, or would you rather be a slightly influential wind?
I would rather be the
A strong
wind.
wall. I think we could all agree.
And I, like you said, I know I have not. Maybe it's not fair, but I have not played Rex to the point where I've been like, oh no, I'm going to die. But I can tell that he's a little bit weaker.
Yeah, he starts out going to die.
But at the same time, I think another ally in the deck that still increases my investigate and allows me to help the entire team. I'm helping me, and I'm helping them. So I think Alyssa needs to go.
I would say he's literally staring at me while he's talking, so it's very obvious that he's made that choice.
Yeah.
All right, so Sean and BD Floor. No, not BD. Sean, who are you with?
I am with Ace of Basey.
Ace of Basey.
All that Kip wants is that Alyssa.
Okay.
Oh boy.
Since I went last both times and I was able to respond to how everybody else pitched, I will go first this time.
Damn, I really thought Ian had that one, by the way.
I thought he did.
Ian pitched right away. That was the problem. He pitched it, and then he didn't defend it later on. I hear you guys in my ear, and you guys are like, no, listen.
We do have a pretty unfair advantage in that regard.
The physical abuse is real, guys.
Okay, so you've ignored damage mitigation.
Okay.
And you've went in favor of getting limited encounter deck control at the cost of your ally slot. Because both Milan...
You shouldn't present to a potential customer by insulting them first.
I'm not insulting. I'm just letting you know the pitfalls that you're going to be running into.
That's fair.
Because both Milan and Alyssa are allies that you want to have out the majority of the game.
Agreed.
Right? And they're both expensive allies. So I'm going to posit another ally with the intent that this ally is to be killed.
Okay.
So this ally exists to literally soak damage for you.
Okay.
Guard Dog. Guard Dog is a 3-cost ally, and he has the reaction ability that when an enemy attack deals damage to Guard Dog, you deal 1 damage back to the attacking enemy. Rats, cultists, any 1-health enemy. You can do that what I talked about with Dodge, where you can just do the investigate test, take the attack of opportunity, put the damage on Guard Dog, and kill that enemy, all in one action. That's what Guardian does, is they combine killing enemies and getting clues into one action. That's what Roland does, and he's the best Guardian, hands down. So I think that Guard Dog would be a smart addition. And then you get him out first, you use him up, you do what he's meant to do, which is soak damage and die, and then you replace him with your permanent ally, him, Dr. Milan, or Alyssa.
I like that. I like, obviously Rex starts with a high enough investigate where Alyssa or Dr. Milan obviously add to that. But like you said, being able to take an encounter and not hesitate
Right.
is kind of a big deal. Now, obviously the concern is if Guard Dog's not ready right away, if I don't get him right away. But there's some, obviously...
Sure, but you could say that about every card.
Sure, and that's totally fair. But yeah, the fact that he not only can soak damage, but he's like, I'm gonna deal it back.
Yes.
That prevents me from having to continue to be like, oh, come save me. I really like Guard Dog.
All right.
I should probably go second so the online guys can close us out. So Kip, I know you do like a gamble. I know you love a chance box, right?
That's fair.
So, on the count of enemy mitigation, you saw earlier dodge, which is a fast event that cancels an enemy attack, right?
Okay.
What if I told you that there was another option?
It's Guard Dog.
What if I told you that you could not only cancel that attack, but you could then, actually a pretty fairly good chance, make the enemy hit itself?
Okay.
It's Guard Dog.
All right.
So I'm going to posit that you should include Hypnotic Gaze in your deck. So this is a spell. It's fast again. You play it when an enemy attacks an investigator. You cancel the attack, so it gets all the benefits of dodge.
Okay.
And then you reveal a random token from the Chaos Bag. And if you get a bad stuff token, you deal the attacking enemy's damage to itself. So now the one thing you'll notice is that, of course, it's a little bit more expensive than dodge.
Sure.
But, as we've mentioned, Milan is going to be a money maker for you. You were never hurting for resources last night, so I feel like if anyone can take that a little bit of extra cost, it's Rex.
Yeah.
And again, just like dodge, this can be used against any enemy, whether it's attacking you or attacking a teammate, so it's flexible in multiplayer as well. And then, oh man, I cannot tell you how fun it is when you pull that bad stuff token and you make a Mordhoth smack himself in the face.
Do you use Hypnotic Gaze, Sean? do you use Hypnotic Gaze?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not in Agnes. This is
of course not.
This is like a good Daisy include, which is why I think Rex would benefit from it as well.
I like Hypnotic Gaze, actually.
And look at the art, first of all. You're never going to be able to draw this card.
Oh, goodness.
We can't start doing that.
I do think, and like you said, if we keep going back to my play style, the fact that it's, I prefer cards that allow me to still not waste an action. Fast it's pretty expensive, or Hypnotic Gaze is pretty expensive. It's free to play in terms of actions. But the idea that I get to smack an enemy back in the face, like with itself, is
It's a good time.
it sounds like a lot of fun.
Why are you hitting yourself?
Exactly. The gamble portion's a little, I don't know. Obviously, it all depends on the bag.
Exactly. But think about last night. How many times did that stupid skull come up?
That's fair.
We literally the scenario that's most recent in his memory is the one with 3 skulls.
Well, yeah, but in any other scenario, then instead you've got 2 skulls, a tablet, and a cultist. So like the mix is still fine.
Yeah.
Fair.
I do. BD Floor brings up a great point though. That there's about 33% chance of it happening.
Depending on the bag, it's
Okay,
roughly, yeah.
so that's not. I mean, that's not a good chance. You started this off with saying it was a good chance. I feel lied to. 33% is not a good chance. That's actually a pretty bad chance.
So we'll
66%
return
chance of
Hypnotic
failing.
Gaze to the bottom.
And that's the thing is, BD4, obviously he's trying to sell for his card, but he brings up a very good point that you can't plan around it.
No,
That's
no.
my only concern. But Sean knows me. He knows that a good gamble and the results that could happen are pretty excellent.
Are you not the guy who bought like $40 worth of
Let's
Overwatch
not-
loot boxes and then never played the game again?
$80.
$80 of loot boxes and then doesn't
That was
play
a
the
fun
game.
time. Though. But yeah,
Can you guys explain? AC basically says it helps with Rex's curse. Can we go into
that
that a little
didn't come
bit?
out last game. Yeah, Rex's curse is right here. This is
that's
your
his weakness.
That's your signature weakness. When you draw it from your deck, it goes into play. And anytime you would succeed a test while that's in play, it forces you to draw a second token. And now that second token, if you succeed, you're fine. This stays out. If the second token causes you to fail, you shuffle the curse back into your deck.
Okay. Actually, that's I can see that would help the curse. That's just another selling point that
Yeah,
Sean clearly didn't do his research on. Thank you, Ethan.
So really, when you look at Hypnotic Gaze, I just want you to see dodge with a bonus.
Sure, absolutely, I agree.
That costs 3.
Right, you pay a little bit extra.
For
you pay
a
a premium
single
for
effect.
you pay a premium for the chance to roll the dice, but
Absolutely,
it's satisfying.
But the results can be glorious.
They can be.
Guard dog costs 3, and he sits in play until you want to use him.
Okay, all right. Fair
All right,
enough, fair
Scott,
enough.
what's your survivor?
Well, I want to cast a bit of light on this discussion.
This fucking guy.
Scott has such a pleasant voice when he presents it. Too. I feel anger and hatred coming from Sean and
Because
Nick.
we can slay each other.
Like they're talking at me.
Yeah.
Okay? Well, Scott's just like, let's have a conversation.
I'm making love to your ears with my voice. So
Sweet tender love.
obviously Rex, the hand slot's going to be kind of a little bit crowded, but let me posit something to you. Instead of maybe including like a flashlight, which lowers the shroud by 2, what about a lantern? It costs the same. You can still investigate with it. It only lowers the shroud by 1, but it has no limit, whereas flashlight, you only get 3 charges. Rex doesn't really need that much lowering on most locations, and plus you're going to have your magnifying glass out on the other hand. It's just an all-around good card for Rex. It's essentially a second magnifying glass. The difference with this one is, though, you can discard this card to deal damage to an enemy at your location. This is great for, I don't know if you've played the Dunwich Legacy, but Whippoorwills. It doesn't have to be engaged with you. You just throw that damage away. Rats, acolytes, there are tons of little enemies with 1 health that are going to kind of ruin your day, and to be able to just take an action, no testing, no chance of drawing, 33% chance of drawing a skull or a tablet or the big bad tentacle, it just does the damage. Yeah, that free damage. I think Lantern would fit excellent into a Rex deck.
Actually, looking at Lantern, it looks like you said it's a magnifying glass as well. But the presenting cards that do multiple different things, especially on different spectrums. We've got, obviously, Investigate, which it's going to help benefit, obviously. But also being able to deal the damage. I can't tell you how many times I feel like we played this game, and there's, I can't take care of the enemy by myself. And Rex was a good example last night where I'm like, uh-oh, as soon as I had, 1 enemy or even 2 that hit me, or at least engaged with me, I had to look around the table to get help.
She was like, I've got 5 zeros in the bag. I'm going in.
But yeah, no, Lantern, the fact that it continues to help Rex's, I feel like, main purpose of investigating is obviously extremely useful. Mm-hmm. And it unlike the... which card was presented last time that took the hand slot? Fire Axe. Yeah.
Fire Axe.
So, unlike the Fire Axe, it's dual purpose. I like that it helps me for what my main purpose is, and at the same time, it also can ping for damage.
All right. Ian.
Alrighty. Allow me to delight you with a card called Elusive. This is an event for only 2 costs, so cheaper than Hypnotic Gaze. It does have Fast, which you mentioned you like, so it doesn't take an action. This basically lets you disengage from each enemy, so if you had 5 enemies, you could disengage from them. And then you basically teleport to any revealed location with no enemies. So there are some strings on it. The location has to be revealed already. There has to be no enemies. But this is commonly considered one of the best cards in the game because moving takes a lot of actions in this game, and with Elusive, if the map has if a location is 5 locations away, you could just instantly teleport there. And so you were mentioning, Kip, that you were getting stuck with enemies sometimes. I feel like cards like Hypnotic Gaze and Guard Dog are asking Rex to stand up to enemies and take damage, which he's not good at. Where this, you basically just ninja vanish. You could be stuck with 3 enemies, just pop away, and then Rex can get back to what he's supposed to be doing, which is gathering clues. And sometimes I point out you don't even if you don't have enemies on you, sometimes I use this just for the movement. You can save 3, 4, 5 actions just to pop somewhere else on the map. So Elusive.
If there's one thing I hate more than not being able to defend myself, it's the amount of time it takes to get from one side of the map to the other. And absolutely, the fact that it's fast, it's relatively cheap. and there's no test. You just disengage.
Yep.
That's huge. And then on top of that, you just move to whatever revealed location's already out there. That's like you said. Even last night, with the emissary was in the theater.
Yeah.
The only way to get to where we needed to go was through the emissary. Whereas exactly, elusive's just you know what? That's no longer a problem. That's a good card.
Yes, it is a good card. However, the one time that we did use elusive last night was when I used it to come and save Rex's bacon from the enemies he was engaged
That's
with.
fair. So you're telling me it's
grain of
useful.
salt.
I can help my team with it too.
Yeah, good point, Nick.
Well, you're not going to be going to take care of enemies, not with your current build. That's what I'm trying to help
I
with.
got you. All right.
All right, chat, anything from you guys? Let's see what we have so far. The original idea that Hypnotic Gaze would help with Rex's curse proved to be false because Hypnotic Gaze doesn't cause a test.
It's not a skill test. It's
Right.
just a random.
It just draws a
It's a
token.
die roll.
Ping for damage is excellent, Doppelbach says about a lantern. Free damage is a good way to go.
Free damage. Speaking of it,
That's true. Hypnotic Gaze does do free damage.
33% chance of doing free damage,
33%
as opposed to
chance of doing
100% with lantern.
Unless you're doing really poorly in the campaign and you've added a bunch of bad tokens to it, and then this is a comeback card because the chance goes up.
Potentially.
Once.
That's banking on failure, like long-term failure.
No, it's hedging against it.
Plan to fail to
Whereas-
make a bad card better?
Quiet survivor.
Last thing I'll say about Guard Dog, set it in play, you just let him do his thing as it happens. Don't have to worry about timing.
But it is taking up an ally slot that could go to more important
is-
allies.
Which will
for-
be quickly vacated simply by just doing what the Guard Dog does.
And you still take the horror.
Ooh, okay.
Okay.
Good point.
Okay. The most recent... Okay, first of all, Rex is fine with horror. Second of all, the most recent game we played was horror heavy, so that's skewing his perception.
Yeah, but we had Jim on the trumpet. It was fine.
Exactly.
That's true. That's true.
So Kip,
Actually, that's a saxophone.
This is probably the hardest decision yet. I think
like that.
I think Nick started with Guard Dog, and
I did start with Guard Dog.
the entire time the other cards were presented, I'm like, yeah, but Guard Dog.
Yeah,
like,
Guard
I'm
Dog.
like,
That's the name of my rolling
That
deck.
is,
Yeah,
that
but
is the
Guard Dog.
third ally you're throwing. in
that's
the deck
exactly it.
for
I've
one
already
spot.
chosen Alyssa,
Temporary ally. Again, I addressed that.
but my concern is that now I'm sitting on, I'm assuming 2 Dr. Milans, 1 Alyssa, and now I throw in a Guard Dog. There's a pretty good chance I'm not going to see Guard Dog before the others.
You can't. You could say that about every card.
That's
you could say
fair.
that I'm not going to get this card when I need it.
That's fair. And that's why the same thing with elusive. As it was mentioned, I think Ace of Basing brought up shortcut. Well, not obviously as free roaming as elusive, letting you go wherever. It still does let me help myself. It's fast, and I can help a teammate with it too.
Yes, you can.
So shortcuts extremely useful. And if I'm not mistaken, it is free in terms of play. So it's free.
Right.
It's a free event, and it's fast. You can't really beat that. But elusive, I feel like elusive does beat that though. In terms
does.
of where I can go, especially later in the scenario when we've already revealed and we've moved on to each encounter or whatever it needs to be. But being able to be like, oh no, I need to get there immediately. I need to bypass these enemies. I need to do all that. That's a huge selling point alone in a single player campaign or with multiple people. I do think
Flip Hypnotic Gaze over.
I do think that
Take that back, you ingrate.
I do think we're underselling Lantern though. I think the fact that it's consistently helping me, it's a magnifying glass. But additionally, I can ping for damage is really useful.
All right, gun to your head.
All right, if I had to make a choice right now, I'm going with elusive. I'm gonna add
No,
elusive.
I would have too.
I feel like I would have had
a choice.
I think
Elusive is like the best card. One of the
As
best
soon,
cards
as, as
in
soon
the
as
game.
Ian laid that down, I'm like, all right, this is
Yeah.
unless someone was really convincing.
I think had I not taken Alyssa prior to Guard Dog being presented, I think I would have taken Guard
No,
Dog.
you made the right choice.
All right. So moving on to round 4. Just shooting right through this. Who has not gone first yet? Scott?
Oh, I will
Wait,
always
no.
upload a
Who has the
warrior
most
gif.
points? Ian has the most points.
Yeah, Ian has to
Ian,
go
you
first.
go first.
Okay. How do I play this?
Ian, that gif. I love it.
Okay, let's see.
God, the warrior
Coffees for
had
closers,
awesome
Ian.
nipples.
Coffee for closer.
Allow me to titillate you with
Oh, goodness. I've been delighted. I'm now being tintillated.
with a card called Leo De Luca, the Louisiana Lion. Now, this is again considered to be one of the best cards in the game. Now, I realize that you've taken Alyssa, which is fine, but there's always room for more allies. The thing with Leo De Luca, he is expensive at 6 costs, but I don't want you to get scared by that because, as you mentioned, I think you mentioned resources weren't too big an issue for you, and a lot of the Seeker stuff isn't that expensive. But basically, Leo gives you an extra action during your turn for the rest of the game. Don't need to do anything, you just get 4 actions every turn. And again, actions are good in this game. With Rex, you could investigate 4 times in a turn, and if his ability triggered, you could get 8 clues in a single turn if you're like in a 3 or 4 player game. And even if you're not investigating, an extra action can go to anything. Like, there's never a time when you're sad that Leo's on the board. Like, he's always going to do something for you, whether it's a extra move or an extra fight or an extra evade or an extra investigate. So Leo De Luca, 6 cost, but it's definitely worth it. You get it out early, and you can even use some of those extra actions to make back the money later if you want.
I like that. I think Leo, like you said, the biggest concern is how expensive he is right away. But
He's taking up that ally slot too.
Yeah,
the
that's-
third permanent
that's-
ally you're adding to your deck.
that's my. I think yeah, with having 2 Dr. Milans.
Two Milans, 1 Alyssa.
Oh, sure. I just meant unique. Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. But I think my 2 biggest concerns are the cost and the extra, being another ally, obviously added to the deck, but having the additional action all the time, it really helps me. I mean, I'm not praying for an elusive when I need to move quite a few spaces. I'm not sitting there going, oh no, I can't get this last clue. I can do it. I can spend that extra action. Obviously, it pairs well with Rex's ability, but as do a lot of cards. Leo's going to give me the opportunity to obtain a ton of clues just by that extra action, but I don't see a downside to his ability. It's just the cost and the
Unless
fact
you
that he's
use that
another
extra
ally.
action to draw into Rex's curse, then it's a downside.
That's fair.
Unless specific
We're
situation A.
But it makes sense.
Unless, what if you don't draw him?
That's perfect. What if I forget to add him to the deck before playing?
What if you leave him in the box? Okay. Let's go with Sean next, because he's the other person with points on the board.
All right. So, as we're talking about ally slots, let me see if I can interest
Oh,
you
Lord.
in one
another
Alyssa Graham.
Oh goodness. I'm kidding.
Oh, I was like, what? We're not doing doubles?
So, but very similar to the strategy that I outlined in Alyssa Graham, it is very important in this game to mitigate the randomness that is the encounter deck, right?
Yes.
So a lot of the cards I've been pitching are really ways that just keep you doing what you're already doing. Rex doing Rex things, that's what you want.
Yeah.
So along the same lines as Alyssa, and I would posit that this works equally well in solo versus multiplayer, I think Scrying would be an excellent addition to your Rex deck. So it has it's a little spell, it takes up an arcane slot, which is not anything. You have no other arcane slots in your deck currently, so that's no issue at all. 3 charges, you exhaust this and spend a charge. You look at the top 3 cards of the encounter deck or a player's deck and rearrange them in whatever order you want.
Ooh.
So again, in the solo context, this really lets you control the flow of the encounter deck. If you see a problematic enemy in the top 3, you can bury it for 3 turns before you have to even address it.
Okay.
In multiplayer, you saw last night, how many times would it have been nice for someone to look at the top 3 and arrange the encounter cards in the proper order
that we need
to go
receive
to
them.
who can address them
Sure.
best.
I like that.
Super powerful. And you know, ultimately, it's very low cost of entry. It only costs 1 action, and I think it's a really good little splash for Rex.
I do. It's cheap. It is cheap for obviously something that's not going to hinder my ally slot. I only have 2 hands, obviously, so it's not. It's the fact that it takes up it's an arcane slot. Is that what it's called?
Yep.
Okay, it takes up an arcane slot. Doesn't mean anything direct.
Nope.
It's downside to 3 uses, but it's cheap. So cheap for 3 opportunities to, like you said, change the order of who's being affected by what coming from the encounter deck. But additionally, if the encounter deck isn't a concern at the time, it allows me to go, you know what, let's let Sean take a look at, or let's let me take a look at Sean's deck to see what card might benefit him the most.
Or
next.
someone's, say Roland's stuck without a weapon, you can let him dig for a weapon.
Exactly.
Say you're super worried about your weakness coming up in the upkeep phase, you look at your top 3, if it's there, you just bury it again.
And I think I'm trying to sell myself on scrying, but I also like the idea that, let's say that I've already taken elusive, so if I'm like I need to be the one that can move, or I need to be able to do something, I can help myself too. I think that's a big selling point for me, is I need to be able to help me as much as I can help my team.
Yeah, scrying's crazy flexible that way, and don't put too much weight on this because you don't know what's coming next. But I think you're going to love my last card.
Oh.
And this combos really well with it.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, jeez.
Everybody has to say that from now on.
Okay. But outside of that context, this is still a great card itself.
Yeah, absolutely. I like it.
Scrying. I had to step away for a minute. What can I say about scrying? I'm not going to say anything.
The thumper roll.
So I have the benefit of being face-to-face with Kip, so I will go first, and we will let the last slot go to Scott, since he doesn't have any points on the board yet either.
Excellent.
And my pick will be one that will help you with those allies. Since you like to apparently fill your deck with allies that you want to keep in play, I'm going to help you keep those allies in play longer. So now, you talk about versatility, and you like cards that serve multiple roles.
Sure.
You want to be able to help the team, and you also want to be able to ensure that these allies get the most efficiency for the huge amount of resources that you're paying for them, 4/4 and potentially a 6. So I'm going to posit the card Emergency Aid. Emergency Aid is an event that it does cost you an action and 2 resources. So it is, it's an average costed card, but it allows you to remove 2 damage from any investigator at your location. Or, and this is the only card that we have currently, as far as I'm aware, that does this, 2 damage from any ally at your location. No other card, as far as I'm aware, can remove damage from allies. So that is a huge boon in and of itself. And if you're filling your deck with allies like Dr. Milan, like Alyssa, like potentially, well, not Leo, because he'd be picking Emergency Aid, you're going to want those allies in play. And, that's something to think about, and that's all that I need to say about that, despite what people are saying.
I peeked at what BD Flory said.
Shut up! No! I missed that! It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. This helps the team. It helps the team.
And he says that my allies only have 1 health.
They do.
Currently,
you're
Alyssa
right.
and Milan only have 1 health.
You're
So
right.
now,
That's
but
taking damage, they're going away.
this still benefits myself and the team.
Exactly. So let's sink.
But not
we'll
my
be
allies.
generous. Let's sink a 5th of my argument.
That's
Because
fair.
you're playing
That is fair.
a 4-player
That's fair.
game.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All 3 of these charges still work.
Yeah. I can't.
That costs
think-
you an action.
I think that emergency aid seems useful in every game. I think
Agreed.
it benefits myself. It benefits my team. It doesn't help my allies in my instance, obviously.
No. But you can also help other people's allies.
That's what I was going to bring
So
up.
when someone
I can
makes the
still
smart
help another
decision to
ally.
pick Guard Dog, you can be like, dude, let's keep Guard Dog in play because it's so cool. I wish I had taken it. All right, Scott, what do you got?
Yeah, you know what? That's all I got.
Moving on.
For emergency aid. Scott, what do you have?
So there's been a lot of pitching of allies here.
Goodness.
I have an ally for you that will solve all of your issues. So emergency aid is great, but like said, your allies are at 1 health, so it's not going to work. So why not have an ally with 1 health that does something and dies, and you don't really care? I posit to you Stray Cat. It is a 1-cost ally. It's cute with red eyes. And you said you enjoy fast things. So this has a fast action. You discard Stray Cat. You automatically evade a non-elite enemy at your location. Not even engage with you. It can be engaged with you, or you could help the team, giant air quotes, and evade somebody else. I think this is a great addition to your deck. It's an ally you don't care about putting into play and then losing a turn later. You don't want to keep it around. You can either help the team, or you can, if you're going first and it's a multiplayer game and you have an enemy with you, you evade it so you evade it quickly, fast, so you can investigate, move on with your day, and then let the Guardian do what Guardians do, the brainless shooting and killing and stuff like that. So, Stray Cat.
Okay, so I wish you could see the interactions I'm having with both Sean and Nick.
So we have the physical cards out so that Kip can actually look at them and go through the deck and everything too.
Currently playing a shell game.
Yeah. And so as he was talking about Stray Cat, I just stacked Leo and Scrying underneath Stray Cat. And then he put Emergency Aid on top. So I think we know what he's going to pick.
All right. Back to Stray Cat. It's cheap. It automatically evades, and you said it's a fast action.
Yes.
So it doesn't waste my time, which is a big deal to me. Obviously, the concern is another ally. I think that's my biggest concern. Is like, I've added Alyssa. Do I want to keep adding to my allies? I'll need cards that can benefit me. Obviously,
And the team.
obviously, Stray Cat I feel like is a one shot. Or it's got its ability is just going to be there and then it's gone. And then Stray Cat's not useful to me anymore. And Ace of Basic brings up a good point. I've got Elusive now added to the deck, which does help me get rid of enemies. I do see the benefits from Stray Cat though, but I just don't know.
You get rid of enemies before they even show up.
Oh Lord. Okay. But yeah, if I'm looking at all of these, I think I've got to go with Scrying.
Yes.
I think only because Emergency Aid was winning until BD Flory.
Damn it, BD Flory.
Yeah, BD Flory goes. Yeah, your allies only have 1 health anyways.
That's true, but that also hit. All right, you made your pick. You made your pick. I'll be a man, and I'll just go with it. Okay, so that means Scott and I are still not on the board, which is surprising because I assumed that Survivor would be
Yeah,
the highest
jeez.
scoring. But
I think the order that everyone has presented has played in a lot, too.
it has, and that's why I was thinking about for this last round, do we want to open up pitching cards that have already been pitched? Because they might be against new. No, it's not.
No.
So, Sean and Ian are tied at 2 points. So at worst, there
Sorry,
could be a
Ian,
tie.
I'm about
I didn't
to close
even
it
think
here.
about this. All right, Sean, go first.
So, Kip, I think we've mentioned in the past that this is a campaign-based game, right? And I know you're a fan of RPGs. We've played many, many hours
Absolutely.
of RPGs together,
Absolutely.
and I know you are an experienced hound. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
So now in this game, normally, for most investigators, you are limited to the experience that shows up on the board, whether you're revealing locations and getting clues off of them, or whether the enemies show up with experience and you're able to address them that way. But what if I told you that there was a player card that can give you XP?
Oh.
So my friend, I suggest that you delve too deep. So this is a Mystic card, 1 cost. In player order, each player draws the top card of the encounter deck.
Ooh.
And then you add this to the victory display. So it is player-fed experience points. And this counts for everyone. This is not just you. This is the team. So now, let's talk a little bit of tech with Delve 2 Deep.
Okay.
A lot of stuff to say on Delve 2 Deep.
I can already see how it works with Scrying.
So yeah, so like we talked about, you picked Scrying last time. This is a great combo. You can set up the encounter deck to not hurt so bad when you eventually play this. It's a little bit of it takes 2 actions to set it up, but you know what, that's not that crazy. What's also great about this is you can Delve Too Deep, say, on your way out. So say you have pretty much completed the scenario, there's a resign location that everyone has to get to. Everyone else can get to the resign scenario, nope out. You're the last one standing, you play a Delve Too Deep, you draw your card, and then you resign. And everyone still gets the XP from it.
Ooh. I like
So now,
that.
yeah, I think a lot of people see this and it seems a little scary, but honestly, there are so many ways to position and play around this that as long as you're playing it smart, this is just one of the best cards in the game. Assuming you like to put cool cards in your deck between sets.
I actually looking at Delve Too Deep, benefits cheap, and it, like you said, it's the experience. It's just right. It's
Assuming you can survive what's drawn off the top.
That's
of that.
that's fair. That's fair. But I feel like whether it be early on, or whether it be later in the game, like you said, at that point where everybody's resigning, you're just at that point of I just need to take it, resign, get the victory. It's great, and you sell the point of the campaign aspect. I don't like when it's one shots. I don't like when it's there's not going to be progression beyond the one single time playthrough. The idea that I can take Rex, play. Utilize Delve Too Deep, and then come back and reap the benefits of it, and then continue on to the next.
And everyone else reaps the benefits too.
Yeah, that's a big point too. It's the fact that it helps my team out too.
So I want to say we did a whole campaign playthrough at Arkham Knights, and we had
Anecdotal evidence. I'm just.
So when you lean into this card, I think we had something like over the course of the campaign, like 10, 12 experience
We were
attributed to just this card.
To be fair,
Wow.
we were running 4 copies of Delve Too
Okay.
Deep.
That's
you will
accurate.
have one copy.
Okay,
That's accurate.
Sure. Still,
So-
those are some pretty good benefits.
You should
So
definitely.
you're looking at a number that's closer to 5 or 6.
Okay, that's fair.
And that's 1 per scenario.
Okay.
And you gotta survive.
But you do draw a lot of cards,
That's
so your
that's the
likelihood of
concern is
seeing
if
it pretty high.
if I can't rearrange the encounter deck, there is a chance that whatever comes out, I'm gonna have to just take to the face.
And that's definitely why you think about positioning before you play
Sure.
this card.
So-
you
some
don't slap this down.
Some
willy-nilly.
strategy is involved.
Definitely.
If you're worried about surviving, wait to see my guardian. All right, Ian, what do you got?
Okay, allow me to stimulate you with a card called I'm Out of Here. Now,
Oh no, I don't have that one prepared.
okay, I'll talk while you get it prepared. While Sean is pitching a card that, yes, it might get you XP, but it's just as likely to get you trauma in a campaign and knock you out and your friends out. I'm pitching a card that will save a scenario and has saved many scenarios and prevent you from getting trauma. So what I'm Out of Here does is it's an event for 0 cost. You said you like low cost things. This is free. And you play if there's a resign ability in play, and no matter where you are on the board, you just immediately resign. Now, at first, that might not seem like much, but most scenarios end with you resigning. And so what this lets you do is basically Rex can do his thing, gather clues, and he doesn't have to worry about where the resign is. If the resign location and the way out is blocked by a monster, he can just play this at the end and just quickly resign. And if you don't happen to need it, it has 2 agility icons to pitch, which is a lot. That counts as good. Most cards only have 1 of a particular skill. This has 2. So it's always useful no matter what. But this is a card that can basically save your game. You just play it, you resign, you're out of there. And so while some might see this as a selfish card, you can actually help your team out by you can do a heroic move, draw a bunch of enemies to you. The rest of your party uses that opportunity to get out, and then you just poof out of there and resign and get away.
That's actually that last party, and that's the idea that I can hold that.
That's assuming you can tank the enemy's damage and horror. But
Yeah, no, but just holding that against my comrades in the next scenario or the next part of the event is a big deal to me. The fact that I can be like, "Do you understand what I did for you?" That's a big selling point. I like that. Obviously, it's got big benefits. While Rex isn't the best when it comes to fleeing enemies, it does help out there if I'm trying to evade. It's cheap. It seems like an all around useful card. Obviously, you have to do it's. Apart from helping the evade, you do need to wait until the resign, or a scenario comes up with a resign ability in it.
Which never happened in Curtain Call.
Did
Our
we get far enough?
We did not. Our
we
resign
didn't get
did
that
not
far.
come up.
There is a resign. You guys just didn't get to it.
There is.
for the record, we never even addressed the Man in the Pallid Mask the first time he showed up.
Never got into the room with
Just
him.
multiple times. Okay, good to know.
Yeah, well, we'll get there maybe.
Spoiler.
Yeah, this is a card that can actually save a whole campaign, which not a lot of cards can say that.
All right.
I like that.
That's, he's got a point. And I will continue with the order that we did last time. So, Scott, I will go next and let you go last, since I have, once again, the benefit of face-to-face.
Sounds good.
So, we're talking a lot about reacting to things. And I'm just going to cut right to it. Physical training. You're going to have resources because you're running Dr. Milan. You're running 2 copies of Milan, so he's the ally that you're most likely going to get into play. You're going to be investigating a lot, so you're gathering a lot of resources. You're great at intellect. You don't need more intellect buffs. What you need are ways to deal with not just enemies, but also literally any sort of challenge that the encounter deck throws at you. And the 2 most common challenges, well, one of them at least is will. So you know that. So physical training lets you spend money, your hard-earned cash, to suddenly do really well at will. And you can do it as many times as you want per test, as long as you have the cash to spend.
Okay.
And not only that, so enemies are one thing. We talked a lot about enemies, so let's ignore the enemy factor. Let's talk about other cards that test combat. Things
The Enemy
like
Factor was my band in high school's name, by the way.
Ignoring that, let's talk about cards like the Locked Door, okay? Now, this didn't come up in our game last night, but the Locked Door is one that straight up shuts Rex down. It attaches to the location with the most clues, and it prevents investigating unless you either break the door or pick the lock, both of which require skills that Rex isn't great at, combat or agility. With physical training, Locked Door is no longer an issue. It's straight up not an issue. It just eats that one action that it takes to break the door down, but because Rex has physical training, that's not a problem. And not only that, there are other things that test combat without straight up being a fight test, whereas this helps with fight and those tests.
Good.
That's my pitch for physical training.
I like that it helps me fight. I haven't added much yet that allows me to fight back myself. I do think the biggest benefit from physical training is it does identify Rex's weaknesses, I'd say, in terms of abilities, and it gives you an alternative to turn them into a positive.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one resource. Like you said, Dr. Milan helps with obtaining resources. Yeah. Emergency cash is there, and obviously every round you're getting one. So I didn't run into quiche. My bad. I didn't run into any resource problems last night, but obviously that could be a problem in the future, especially with this card added, though.
Sure. Well, and you could just not draw it.
That's fair.
All right, Scott, what do you got?
Well, this card is an amazing card for most investigators, but for Rex, it's fantastic. You know when you finish up a flashlight and then you play a new flashlight down and that one goes to your discard pile, or let's say you chose correctly, pick leather coat, and you take the damage and it goes in the discard pile, or you use a lantern and you use it for the damage, it goes in the discard pile. I have a card called Scavenging. Scavenging is a 1-cost asset, doesn't take a slot. Its skill icon is a intellect, which is the clue getting one. So if you do have to pitch it for investigating, you can do that. And basically it has a reaction. After you successfully investigate by 2 or more, which you're going to try and do with Rex, exhaust Scavenging. Choose an item card in your discard pile and add it to your hand. This is essentially when you're going around and you're investigating, and you're getting those 2 clues each investigate, you're also drawing cards back from your discard pile, possibly ones that you used to chuck to previous skill tests to get that 2 or more. Also, any of those, like you said, you're worried about the hand slots, you can get those items back and play them as you need. So Scavenging and Rex, you're already going to be investigating by 2 or more. This just adds essentially card draw to it.
Yeah, it actually plays into Rex's ability, obviously success, to successfully investigate. 2 or more, it wasn't an issue for me last night. It tended to happen pretty frequently. Being able to pull back an item from the discard pile seems extremely useful. I didn't ditch many last night, but once again, the idea that I don't have many to begin with, so if they are gone, bringing them back is a pretty big benefit.
And also bear in mind, and I'll argue for Scott a little bit here, just because you may not be as familiar with the intricacies, but you can chuck this for a test later on, or earlier on. Later you get Scavenging, and then you pull it back. So it's not like you have to burn through your flashlights every time to make that useful.
Sure. Chat, any final thoughts to add? Let's see what we have so far.
Save your campaign. Be a hero.
What we have so obviously, delve too deep could kill you. Big concern there. But the XP bonus is really nice. And as Ace of Base says, all the cool kids are putting Delve Too Deep in their decks.
It's true.
So it makes you feel good.
It's true.
I'm out of here. BD Flory says, could save a whole campaign, potentially. And it has the 2 agility pips, which is really nice, according to Climbable Fungus. Physical training didn't get much response at all. Are you kidding me right now? This has got to be a gag, says Thoth. And BD Flory says, I agree. I ran it and drop kick Murphy, but it was a joke deck. Ridiculous choice for Rex.
Oh my god, poor
So
Nick.
I say you kick those ideas to the curb and you strike out on your own, my good sir. Someone popped a higher education in there, but we're not talking about XP, we're talking about level 0. And you know, physical training is a good placeholder until you get to higher education.
You know how else you get to higher education? Experience points.
Scavenging, we have...
I mean, a big thing with scavenging is that you need items like Leather Coat and Lantern, which are amazing cards. I mean, yeah, so...
So that was... Yeah, so, alright. Final thoughts, and I got the ones that I don't have physically prepared right here.
Oh, thank you.
So quick thinking, or I'm out of here was posited by Ian,
Yep.
which is the resign from anywhere, 2 agility icons, and scavenging was from Scott.
Okay. Ian presenting I'm out of here. He really reached deep down into my heart, and
You're not a runner.
the fact that it presents me with the ability to not only save the campaign, as has been mentioned, but it's free to play. It can help me with an evade earlier on if we don't get to that point. But that last second heroics aspect, I really like that. I really like the idea of being able to resign at any point, obviously, or save the team and move on. Delve Too Deep.
It's trash. It's trash.
Sean mentioned it earlier. He said that I like to gamble, and I feel like Delve Too Deep's that opportunity to let's get everybody an experience, but at the same time, I don't know what the hell's coming off the top of that deck
Unless you scry
unless
first.
I scry. So if I don't know, I get to see what that is. Possibly get punched in the face. Obviously, there's a chance to take a trauma, but the chance that I might be able to get everybody an experience is extremely useful.
When it's not a chance, the experience always happens. The chance comes with the encounter cards.
Yeah, but my only concern with Delve Too Deep is when to play it, which strategy isn't always my strong suit. I may play it at the wrong time. It may hinder the adventure more than anything else.
It is a card that does require finesse.
Yeah, and I'm really more about just running through the door than trying to open it. So I think I've gotta go with Delve Too Deep.
Yes,
I
you
have
do.
to. I have to.
Yes,
I just
we
have to.
can.
I thought he was going to say I'm out of here. I really did.
I have to.
You don't have to.
No,
There's no rule.
I feel like the benefit to it is great, and the gamble aspect's just it's desirable.
So the problem is that we pitched a Seeker deck to a Mystic player.
You know what's funny? Scott, I know you're booing in the chat right now, but what were your 4 or 5 splash for our Rex Iron Man campaign?
2 Wards of Protection, 2 Delve Too Deeps. I can't remember the 5th.
Did you end up with elusive?
I think I did put a single elusive in there, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what did we ended up with elusive, quick thinking, Delve Too Deep, scrying, and
Alyssa Graham.
Alyssa Graham.
So 2 rogue and
I'm really
3
happy
Mystic.
a couple of you guys showed up to play today.
I strongly disagree with the elusive pick.
I agree. I disagree with Alyssa as
Yeah.
well, but that's whatever. We lost.
What?
Let's be men about
Alyssa's fine.
No, you got so many other allies you need. Like, that's just...
it. You were the chosen one.
Why would you tempt him with that? That's just...
I know. Oh, that was good.
This is I actually thoroughly enjoyed this game.
Yeah,
I may
that
not
was
be
a lot
as
of fun.
familiar with the entire game, but it allows me to get a little bit more knowledgeable of the cards too.
And
Well, and I think what makes this game fun is that we pitch, we've talked about every one of these cards ad nauseum, so we kind of have an idea of where we feel they fit in the power
Yeah,
scale.
right.
But this game was as much about our ability to pitch you the cards
yeah.
as it was
Sure,
the actual
absolutely.
cards themselves.
I'll be honest. Looking through level 0 cards, I'm like, I wouldn't put any of this stuff
I
in Rex.
felt really bad for Nick And I also felt bad for Scott that we picked Rex because
Yeah,
Scott's
he can't
Survivor.
use-
He can't pick Lucky, which is
Yeah,
like,
Lucky,
also one of the
and
best
look
cards
what
in
I
the game.
found. Yeah, like
Yes.
Yeah. Can't take either of those.
So we'll have to revisit this again with like Yorick or something for Scott.
hey
I
guys,
was thinking about this last.
let's pick a.
What's that?
I was gonna say let's pick an investigator, but Scott, you can't choose good cards.
The best Survivor cards.
No, I was thinking about this last night, and my mind just kept going dodge and guard dog, and I could not come up with anything else. So I literally just picked them like 5 minutes before we started recording. I'm like, this, let's go. All right.
So I do
Ooh,
believe
Lola's a
that
good one.
Ace of Basie, if you will Discord DM either me or actually probably just do it to Nick,
To me,
your name and address, we will send you out those promos.
Thank you very much, guys. I hope that you guys enjoyed this game. I look forward to doing something like this again in the future. And it works perfectly having someone who doesn't know the game backwards and forwards like
Absolutely.
we do. I think that works
And
awesome.
Asa Basie, I will chat you my
feel-
PayPal.
I feel like we can do this with Brian at some point in the future, maybe.
Yeah, I think Brian.
Yeah.
Well, Brian would be throwing so much back at us.
Oh, that's
that-
exactly it.
Jeez, this would be a 3-hour game. All right.
All right, so that takes us on in. I think we're gonna skip voicemails and reviews this time, just for the sake of keeping this, not a complete epic episode. So let's move it on into Tentacle Time. So Kip, this is an episode or a segment in the episode where we talk about other things that are grabbing us right now. So Nick,
store
why
stuff.
don't you lead us off?
Sure. Well, this weekend is BlizzCon. It started last night. In the past, I've purchased virtual tickets for BlizzCon, and I've watched primarily just the StarCraft pro game, the tournament, because I love pro-level StarCraft play, and it's so fun to watch. This time, I didn't buy a virtual ticket simply because I was going to be hanging out with these guys this weekend, so I didn't have the time really to watch that stuff. And plus, I know it'll be available for viewing probably in the near future. I think it's a couple weeks out. You can watch that at video on demand. So, but they've made some really cool announcements with BlizzCon so far that I was able to get heads up from friends of mine. So they announced the new Hearthstone expansion, which is, you guys know, I'm a big Hearthstone fan. I know, Scott, you're excited for this.
Oh, I'm so pumped.
Kobolds and Catacombs. So it from my limited experience with it is, or at least exposure to it so far, is that it's almost like a classic dungeon crawling sort of expansion. So they're going to be playing on those sort of like old D&D tropes of like getting treasure and leveling up and that sort of thing. Scott, does that sound right?
Yeah,
you?
and really weird magic because I guess kobolds are a little bit magical, but they're like
Geomancers, yeah.
they're not like good at magic like a mage would be. Like
Right.
they're almost what do you call it? Like not random, but
They're wild.
Yeah,
Clumsy.
Yes. They're clumsy.
yeah,
that's
clumsy.
a
That's a
good
good
one,
one. Yeah.
So that looks really exciting. I'm excited to try out Kobolds and Catacombs. And they also announced the next WoW expansion, which, okay, really short history lesson here. When I started WoW, and I know in an early, I think our first or second episode I talked about this too, so long listeners who've been with us a while will know. Early WoW, vanilla. I made a dwarf and I played him as a pirate. He was a warrior, but I played him like he was a pirate. I dressed up like a pirate. I acted like a pirate. I had a lot of fun. I
You got a role-playing pirate guild, right?
Yes, I had a guild of literally at its height over 200 members who were all sold on this idea of playing a pirate with me.
Wow.
And I loved it. And
God, the internet's awesome.
and then this last expansion, they changed up the rogue class so that one of the specializations of rogue is literally a pirate. They have a pistol, they throw money at your enemies, and I was like, wow. So I changed that dwarf around and made him a rogue instead of a warrior. But then I haven't been playing WoW that much. But now they've announced the next expansion, and this next expansion is literally like naval based. Like it's all about ships and islands and sailing and all that. There's a new pirate city that's being added. There's all this like naval combat and everything like that. So I'm probably gonna get back into WoW like heavily.
Uh-oh.
Having a new PC probably helps a little bit.
Having a new computer definitely helps. The another cool thing is that they also announced they're doing legacy servers with World of Warcraft. So if you're one of those people that are like, I miss the days of Wrath of the Lich King, well, you'll be able to go back and play on servers that are content specifically only Wrath of the Lich King and the previous stuff. So you can experience WoW as it was those years ago. I personally am of the mindset that the game has only improved since then, but it's still exciting. It's exciting to be able to go back and see what that and remind myself of what it was like back in those days when I loved WoW. Yes, exactly. Scott knows me too well. So that's what I'm super excited about is the BlizzCon weekend. But other than that, I mean, our gaming weekend. I don't know if you guys are going to talk about it at all, but
I probably will.
that game of Overcooked, man. If you have the chance to play Overcooked on the PS4, specifically with 3 other people, it is frantic and it is fun.
And more importantly, if there is a competitive scene, we're ready.
Yes, we became a well-oiled machine last night.
Yeah,
Chopped the shit out of that beef.
oh my god, yeah, it's super fun. It's a game where you play as chefs in a kitchen, and there's all the different tasks that are there, like you would normally expect. Except you each have to kind of find your own role within there, like depending on where everything's laid out and how the kitchen is shaped and everything like that. It's a lot more fun than I'm making it sound. And Climbable Fungus brought up Lovers in a Dangerous Space Time, which we also played, but that one wasn't as fast-paced as Overcooked, so it didn't hit as hard with our group. We did enjoy it, though, I think.
Yeah, I think we kind of tend, in our large group games, we tend to like the chaos and craziness
Yes.
to a certain degree. And while Nick did his best to inject that while flying the ship,
Whoever's
for lovers.
idea was to allow a ship to be able to shoot at the same time.
What's
that's
the
not
first thing
okay.
you guys think of when you think of a ship? Ramming speed, right? That's it. So
And
yeah,
I love my sister's boyfriend Nate. Like he's kind of a super straight, like just
Yes.
play the game properly kind of. And to inject him into our group was very interesting.
and his answer was just to control the shields and always point them at whatever I'm flying towards. That's great. The only other thing I'm going to say is that, just as another reminder, my solo podcast, Enter the Novelcast, is still going strong. Every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I release a new chapter of an audiobook as narrated by myself. The current audiobook that we're going through is Cybersaurus: The Awakening, the first sci-fi book that I wrote with the intent of self-publishing. So stop over, give that a listen, and I'm always open to feedback. But that's all that I got.
Yeah, excellent. Scott, what you got going on of late?
Well, Nick, I mean, Hearthstone. I'm so pumped. So I won't talk much more about Hearthstone, but if anyone wants to chat, there's a Discord channel for specifically Hearthstone. It's going to be buzzing for the next month. I've gotten back into Kerbal Space Program because it's a great game, like, I find to play in the evening when I just want to, I don't know, burn my brain. But have you guys played Kerbal Space Program or heard of it? It's like,
Never heard of
I'm
it.
familiar with
oh
it.
my goodness. So you know how Microsoft Flight Simulator, like the later versions, you could like pump up the difficulty to where it's like you're legitimately flying an airplane? Like all the physics are correct, you have to control for everything. KSP is basically you build your own spaceships and it's super realistic physics and you actually have to like launch them, get them into orbit. I've learned a ton of math from this. I know how to do like Hoffman transfer orbits, like thrust versus weight ratios, like all that. It's super nerdy.
Nice.
But it's super fun. And then I also played a game recently, and I played it before. I think I've mentioned it before, but you guys should try it out if you're at this weekend and you have a printer, which I hope you do. Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes.
Oh,
Yeah.
My goodness.
So,
I have that for virtual reality.
oh really?
For the Oculus Rift.
Oh, my goodness.
With the Oculus on, you see the bomb, and you have to explain it to somebody who has either a computer or their phone, and they're going through the manual themselves trying to explain things while you're the only one that can see the bomb. Actually,
Yeah.
So the person with the manual is like, imagine talking to them over like a phone line. That's what it feels like.
Yeah. So that's an amazing game. Yeah, and you can print out the book too. I like printing it out, and like one person sits on one end of the room with a computer, and like so you can see the other people, but they can't see your screen, and they're like flipping through the book, looking for different things, and oh man,
yeah. I've seen playthroughs, or I've seen people play that
Yeah.
where they have it like on YouTube, and the manual is like a 40-page document, and they're just going all over the place. It's crazy.
And I guess lastly too, another party game I played recently with some buddies, Artemis, which is basically you need 6 computers, preferably well you can have up to 6 computers. You can play it solo if you want, but basically it's Star Trek. And so each person is at a computer is a different station on the ship. Like one is weapons, one's engineering, like, and then you have,
That's really cool.
so there's 5 stations. And then the 6th station is actually, you want a computer projecting onto the wall. That's the main screen, and you have a captain. And so you can tell people like weapons, I want your stuff on main screen, and they'll put it up, or like I want the visual main screen. Like it is Star Trek, and you're playing it.
Oh my god, we gotta do this.
It is
That sounds so good.
so amazing. I think it's like $40, and that gives you 6 copies to like put on 6.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
And it's an independent company. It is amazing. Ian, if you can find 5 other people to play this with you, I know you're a huge Star Trek fan.
Yeah, that would
You
be
will
amazing.
absolutely love it.
I would assume that it has, like, you literally have to be in the same room. Like, playing it over the internet doesn't.
No, yeah, you have to be in the same room, and it helps if you like actually everyone sits kind of like a
Right.
bridge, you know. It's super nerdy. The first time I played it was actually at Board Game Geek, like their big convention every year. It was like
BGG Con.
yeah, like 5 or 6 years ago, and this guy who brought it, he had a room, and he had set it up for a number of years. He actually had like lights on the wall, like when you go to red alert, like there's red alert lights on the.
Nice.
And then he showed me a picture of his actual. He has a bridge at home, like in this spare room. Like it is, it looks like Star Trek, and him and 5 other buddies just play Artemis like every weekend. Anyway,
Where does this guy
imagine,
live?
I imagine he walks into the room and talks to his wife. Number 1.
anyways, super worthwhile game, especially if you're a sci-fi nerd, and especially if you love Star Trek. So
That sounds awesome.
yeah.
Fantastic. Ian, how about you?
Not too much. One thing is I often watch kind of RPG play sessions on Twitch, which are a lot of fun if you have the time for it, because they can be lengthy. But over at the Geek and Sundry Twitch, they run a lot of shows. Of course, Critical Role's the most famous. But recently, one of the people who game masters often there, Eric Campbell, he did a Trail of Cthulhu session for Halloween, a one-shot. Trail of Cthulhu is kind of, I don't know too much about it, but it's kind of like an alternative to Call of Cthulhu, almost a different system for running kind of Cthulhu stuff. This one was a pretty interesting story. Obviously, over at Geek and Sundry, they have a lot of like voice actors and stuff playing the game, so they get really into it. Great, good stories. This one was like a female fighter pilot squadron during World War One, and then they start running into Cthulhu-y things. So it's really good. So if you don't have a lot of chance to watch that type of thing, I recommend finding it on the Geek and Sundry Twitch. It should just be under Trail of Cthulhu if you search for that in their channel, and you'll find it. And it kind of gives you an idea of what Cthulhu role-playing is like.
Yeah, and the cool thing about Trail, as far as I know, Trail versus Call, is that Call of Cthulhu, it's very easy. Like, you run into that RPG issue where it's like, well, we failed our investigation, so we didn't find all the clues, so
Right.
now what do we do? Whereas Trail posits that the real game is in learning what to do with the clues, not necessarily finding them, which I think is a really cool way to kind of subvert that. So
Right. Yeah. I still think one day as a pipe dream we need to do a RPG session together and Twitch it or something. But
I agree.
well, I know you are on board for that, Nick.
I don't think anyone's opposed. I think
Yeah.
just scheduling some monster we haven't figured out how to beat yet.
Yep. We can barely manage
That'll be the
anything
next episode
besides
of the
our
podcast.
regular
It'll
show.
just be us playing. Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing, I was going to talk a little bit about Lord of the Rings LCG because I've been building some fun decks for that. But the other big thing that dropped yesterday was an announcement that apparently Warner Brothers Studios and Tolkien Estate, they're shopping a Lord of the Rings TV series, and apparently Amazon is in talks to produce it. So that was just like a mind-blowing moment for me. Thinking about,
Have they mentioned what the premise is going to be? Or are they actually following the storyline?
they
of Lord
have
of the
not.
Rings?
A lot of people are afraid that it's going to be they're just doing the Lord of the Rings story, which I don't know, because the movies they have some flaws, but they're kind of perfect in my opinion. I don't think you can really redo it.
Well,
There's some of the best adaptations.
Yeah.
well, I mean, regardless of how you feel about it, they are cultural bedrock level movies at this point.
They
so you
are.
can't really mess with them.
Yeah. So my hope, and they haven't given any details, my hope is they're going to do, like, related stories. Like, there is all this material in the appendices of Lord of the Rings. Like, Aragorn has, like, 1 billion adventures before we see him in Lord of the Rings. That could make, like, a series in itself, or there's all kinds of other stuff. But I am excited to see what comes with it, but I'm sure it'll be a few years before we see.
Yeah.
It'd be cool if they, like, followed the Grey Company, maybe.
Yeah.
That could be interesting.
They're not going to make a show about the podcast.
That'd be a very boring show.
I'm not here to butter Ian's balls that
I think it'd be really cool if we got like a small town drama set in Hobbiton.
Oh my god.
Like,
Small
follow
town
one of the
drama.
sheriffs. That would be so cool.
The
Like,
last
think of
hole
it
on the left.
like a British crime show. Like a British crime show set in Hobbiton where you follow a sheriff who has to go around solving crimes. Like my wife loves
Like,
British crime shows.
small better.
That would be. I would be all over that.
What's that
Just
British like soap opera that's been going on for years, like decades?
Downton Abbey.
No. Something Street.
I don't know.
Coronation
I was
Street.
thinking
Oh, I know.
of show.
Yeah.
But something like that, like just menial stuff in Hobbiton.
Not quite Fargo, BD Flory, but more like Father Brown or Murder in Paradise, and I'm naming shows that probably nobody
I
has
was
seen.
about to say, are these shows?
But my wife is on a British murder, like, she's been watching British murder shows for, like, the last 2 years, and she just devours them. And I'm to the point now where just being around her, like, I've caught on to all the tropes and everything, so I'm like, yes, give me that in the Shire.
Or better yet,
Everybody has to be proper, and it's all about, like, you know, how you come across and tact and all that, but you're still trying to tell someone he's a douchebag, but you can't actually come out and say it.
Like, who stole the
stuff like
cakes?
Right!
or better yet,
Everyone hates Farmer Maggot.
Yeah.
a British crime drama in Mordor.
Oh god, there's so much crime.
Yeah.
No, they have to track down the people who are doing good deeds, like it's a orc.
Who obeyed the law here?
Who helped the old orc lady across the street? Find him.
God.
Yeah, that's about
Alright,
it.
Well, that's enough. I'm really interested to see how that turns out.
Oh yeah.
Kip, what have you been up to lately?
I'm sure Nick will touch on this, but we had a hell of a time
I saved it for
Thursday
you to talk
night into Friday. We landed up between the two of us. I have a nice long desk. He set up his new computer on it, and we played some of the newest hit games out there, such as OG StarCraft.
Yeah.
We played AVP Classic
Alien
2000.
Alien vs. Predator 2000 edition.
It was probably some of the best gaming I've done recently. We did play a new game, Stick Fight.
Yeah. we played
If
Stick
you,
Fight.
it seems like a physics-based. If you played Nidhogg, imagine that, but physics-based, you can move all over the place. So you're flying all over, trying to kill each other. Random weapons drop, and it just takes you from map to map.
Yeah, it's fast and it's frantic, and as soon as someone dies, it just loads a new map and you go again. It's really fun.
But I truthfully think the highlight of the night was Alien vs Predator. We as you can imagine, all of the active servers of Zero. So Nick creates one for myself to join over the internet. So not just LAN like a LAN server, but over the internet. I join it. It's titled Kip. And Nick and I are just fighting each other. I'm learning the basics of the game, learning how to play as an alien, a marine, a predator, whatever. And then shout out to Drake_25 somewhere in the world who joined the server with us. Nick and I, he taught me
Trying
kind of
to relive the glory days of 1999.
Exactly. Nick quickly showed me how dangerous an alien can be. Apparently, you can wall crawl all over the place. So playing as a marine is not as much fun as playing as like a predator or an alien, in my opinion. I think we're gonna link you, hopefully a trailer or a game review
video. Yep. But yeah, so I mean they're really well balanced. Like the marine has the highest firepower and like the most like he can take out the most targets at once. The predator is the most specialized and the most versatile. And then the alien is
The alien's the only one worth talking about.
The alien is the
so
fastest and the strongest burst damage, but super weak. So yeah, but they're a lot. It's a lot of fun, and you can like Oh man, you can. There's one map that we played that you can knock out all the lights, and we did that. Kip was a predator, so he had no problem with lights. I was a marine, so I was literally running through a pitch black room, just throwing flares and waiting for my smart gun to chime at me, saying that he's nearby. Oh, it's really hard to convey how fun it was, and it would be a lot of fun if we had like a consistent, or not even consistent, but just like 4, 5, 6 people as opposed to 2 to 3. So. Worth checking out and super cheap. Didn't mean to steal your tentacle.
No, that's all right. That's all right. Other than that, did we play? Was it Primal Carnage?
Played Primal Carnage. Yes.
A game that I didn't know existed until Thursday, and I think it's a lot of fun. We were able to either play as, I'm assuming, just regular military humans, whatever you want to
just
humans.
generic shoot guys. You know.
Exactly.
Generic
Or
guys.
you can play as dinosaurs.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something about a raptor that can jump 20 feet that really entices me. I think I had the most fun playing as a dinosaur. You can play as a T-Rex. I can't remember
It
what we
seems
were
like the
limited.
most obvious statement.
It does, it does, but I think there's just a benefit to seeing all the humans crowd together in an abandoned building, and you and 3 other raptors just go pulverize them. It's
Let's go be clever girls.
And it got to the point where Kip and I are both raptors, and it's like, God, if we just run in there and just do whatever, they're gonna just kill us all. We gotta plan this out. And then like a T-Rex runs by and starts roaring it up. So we're like, oh, he's distracting him. Quick, you leap on that guy, I'll leap on this guy. And it was so much fun. Like, I've played Primal Carnage a lot on my own, but it was a totally different game having someone else there with me on my team that I could communicate to consistently. So.
All right. Well, for my part, I think last time I hinted that I wanted to talk about L5R, but I honestly haven't gotten any games in since then, so...
He had one set up when we got here.
Well, that was gold fishing.
Oh.
That's a completely different thing. So at the risk of just becoming a broken record where I say how much I hate playing against hard control decks and how much FFG seems to love putting them in their friggin' games from the get-go...
Kids, ask your parents about goldfishing today. Or parents, talk to your kids about goldfishing, I guess is the way to say it.
So, yeah, I think the only other big thing of note since kind of the last time we had a full tentacle time was my other podcast. We kind of had a big end of an era where the 3, so Cardboard of the Rings has been going for about 6 years. And Brandon, who originally started the podcast, Brian, who joined shortly after, and I have all kind of retired from it for various reasons. So that's been kind of a thing, because that was a big piece of, my personal time. And I played Lord of the Rings intensely, and even though I have some issues with where the card pool's at the moment, I do still love the game. Recently started a new Saga campaign and kind of fell head over heels back in love with it. So I'm like, God damn it, I just quit the podcast, and of course I would now reignite my love for the game. But yeah, so it's just kind of been a thing. It's honestly, Mythos Busters would very likely not exist if Cardboard of the Rings did not exist. So
Not in its current incarnation.
right.
Do you feel that you have a different... Has your perspective of the card game changed at all now that you're not doing Cardboard of the Rings? Is it still too close to really...
Yeah, it's still a little too close. I'm still kind of in the same mindset I was at. I think it might change a little bit in that I don't feel as pressured to be up to date on the new cards for that game as well. Sure.
Neither does FFG, so...
Zing!
Yeah,
In case you guys haven't heard, the release schedule for Lord of the Rings has become quite delayed.
Yeah, geez. That's... And it's unfortunate, too, because the game just kind of happens to be at this point where a lot of us in the community feels like, God, just like the game is so stupid hard right now. We feel funneled into these really powerful decks in order to stand a decent chance at winning the game. And then we had the Gen Con quest that was, like, tailored to punch your face in. And then we go on... In that moment where everyone's kind of well, not everyone. Some people are completely fine with where the game's at. But where a lot of us are kind of demoralized with the game... Then we have a huge content lull. It's just a bad place to be stuck in. But anyway, I do still really love the game, and it's been sad and happy at the same time to shut down my involvement in Cardboard of the Rings, because that was something I did really enjoy. But I have you guys, so
Yay.
yeah. So I think the only other thing I'd mention lightly, spoiler-free, is I have finished the second season of Stranger Things. Oh. I did really enjoy it. I had some issues with it, but it was a very entertaining watch at the least, and I'm very excited to see where they go from season 2.
Just answer me this question.
Go on.
Better, worse, or on par?
With season 1? I didn't enjoy it as much as I enjoyed season 1. But I think part of the joy of season 1 is kind of discovering the world is establishing.
Yeah.
It's enjoying how on point all the 80s tropes are.
Right.
And you can't really replicate that into the second season as much, I don't think. So I think the second season just kind of was up against it from the beginning.
So it suffers from just being a sequel.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's kind of your standard
I'm
sequel
5 episodes
shortcomings.
in and I'm loving
The
it.
sophomore
so far.
slump.
As far as yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. Is like we always talk about with comparing cards to power cards. Like,
Right.
season 2's an 8,
Yeah.
and season 1's a 9. So it's not like it's that far.
I am firmly in the camp that season 1 of Stranger Things is the perfect television show. That it is a 10 on 10. Like, it's perfect length. Everything about it is exactly where it needs to be. So
I mean, I think it's pretty safe to say that you might not enjoy it as much as season 1, but you will love season 2 if you enjoyed season 1.
Yeah,
So
good.
Anyone who's on the fence, and why would you be? But if you are, go watch it. It's good. We'll probably talk about it a little bit more spoilery when everyone's all the hosts here have finished it.
Yeah, I'm still on I finished episode 2, but it's the show that my wife and I, like, we don't watch it apart. Like, we have to watch it at the
Right.
same time.
Yep.
And I work shift work, and we have a kid, and we both do a lot of online, like, streaming or podcasting or whatever. So, finding
I
time.
hear you.
there was a minor joke that we tried getting some traction last night. Every time we'd test wills, we'd say we're testing buyers or we'd test will buyers. But it didn't stick as strongly as I had hoped. So it's in the camp with Johnny Knife and the Mythos Busters offices as jokes that Nick started that didn't really
But god damn it, you tried really hard.
I did, and you know what? I'm still gonna pause it because these offices are nice, and I think that we should talk about them more. So, I mean, you guys can be upset that I have the corner office, but whatever.
It's all right. The windows are on the side panel. It's okay. All right. Well, I think at the risk of going way too long, I think this is a good time to wrap it up. So, guys, any parting shots? Kip, it was good to have you on this episode. I hope this wasn't...
I really
crazy.
enjoyed it, actually.
Good.
I really did. I look forward to possibly joining in the future again.
Well, let's slow down.
Okay.
I would love to have you on.
And on that note, we'll wrap it up. Thanks for joining us for episode 27 of Mythos Busters. We'll see you guys next time.